Hey everybody, we're live. I'm live again, another Saturday, episode 5 in the stream. Thanks for tuning in. For those checking it out, my name is Dustin Brett. I'm a software developer. Working here in Canada. Been doing software development professionally for a little under a decade, not professionally for a couple of decades. And been doing this stream because of a piece of software that I made that's kind of been fun and I want to remake called X. Making V2, the in-browser operating system, basically. And I'd like to just jump right into showing you guys it because we haven't really done a demo of it in a while. And maybe just for people that are new here or haven't seen it, this is the old version, basically. There's a clock under my video that we can't see, but this is kind of what I did in the end. And basically, it's essentially an attempt at like a Windows clone, basically. Looks like everything's going good on the stream, by the way. I just wanted to keep an eye on the connection and everything. I'll update you guys about that, by the way, in a second. I got some good news, some surprise news that I want to share with you guys. But yeah, just to get more into the code here. So the idea and what we're trying to make is essentially a remake of this with, as you can see here, there's an animated wallpaper, which is something we might get into today, I'm hoping. We got our desktop icons. You can drag them. You can focus and unfocus. You know, you hover, they click, similar effects to what Windows 10 has. That's the hope. The size in here looks, I think, right. That's something we'll get into too. I just recently set up a virtual machine of Windows 10 so we can dive in and pick apart all the UI elements of Windows 10 in a more controlled environment separate from iOS. So we can kind of look at, well, what are the taskbar sizes and some of the tools that I use to kind of inspect the window elements to kind of get certainty about what the pixel ratios are and stuff. So that's something we'll get into. I got like the taskbar. We got, if you open up a window here, you got the items as you'd expect. And by the way, I did start the stream early, so I'm just here. I'm seeing it the last 10 seconds. I'm going to slip back in to the video for people that are here right on time kind of thing. And also double check my connection again. And just want to say 9 o'clock. Thanks for being here right on time. For anyone here right on the dot. Just another hello, and if you were here early, or if you weren't here early, I was just showing everybody why we're here for the remake of this operating system in the browser that I've made. My name is Dustin, by the way, just to reintroduce myself again for anybody who came here right at 9. Please feel free to message in the chat or anything if you want to chat with me. If you have any questions, comments, any notes, any ideas, any of that stuff, including PRs and issues and anything you want to add in the GitHub repo too that's associated with this stream. With the project. Those are always nice to have. If any issues with the connection or the stream or anything cuts off at all, please tell me, because I've recently just reinstalled Windows. Just as some good news that I was kind of telling people early before 9 here, just when I first started the stream, is I have a new PC now. So I don't know, at the last stream I was talking to you guys about how it kind of skipped out on me a few times, and I'm hoping it doesn't happen this time, because I went from an i5 4690K to a Ryzen 9 3900X. So basically from 4-core 4-thread to 12-core 24-thread processor. And I can see my processor doesn't even notice what's going on anymore. It's at like 4% now compared to before, when it was like at 80% doing almost nothing, involving the code and just the stream itself. So already it's quite a bit better there. I'm happy about that. The graphics card remained the same. So that's my only concern that I have left, because it's an AMD card, and it's not one of the ones that has the new NVEC encoder, it's called, for encoding video. So it's not the best, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be okay. And that's really the only unknown, is the video card, because everything else is going good. But I've kind of turned the settings up on the visuals a bit too, so I'm hoping the stream is a little smoother and stuff, and you guys can tell me if it's not, or if you have any trouble with it. So yeah, just to quickly get back into the demo here, just to show you some cool stuff. So this is, the OS demo, the animated wallpaper, something we're going to work on today. We're going to possibly get a little bit of the idea of the taskbar today as well. Probably just some kind of container that is populated with running processes, windowed processes, I guess. Or that's something we'll have to get into too, I guess, is differentiating system processes / components from apps kind of thing, because we don't want like the desktop icons to show up as an entry on the taskbar when they're running. That obviously would be pretty silly. I could show you some other fun stuff with here. Maybe we could try to play Doom. I don't know how I don't think my graphics card's too involved in this. We can kind of see that Doom was one of the the things I had on here. I'm not sure how the audio is, but oh, that's the shoot button. There we go. It's control. And you can move around the windows. That's something we'll have, the dragging and the dropping, resizing as well, being able to maximize and minimize like that kind of stuff. We'll get into all that stuff. And I was just thinking about it recently about how I might want to do these streams. And I'm thinking in the future, what we might start doing is going back into the old code and being like, here's how I did it in the old code. And then kind of bringing that in and then refactoring it with all the upgrades and the new ideas that we're going to have for the way we're doing it now. So, because sometimes during the week I'm preparing a lot and I end up looking at the old code so much just to remember what did I do, back then, that maybe it'll be good to just have you guys be able to see it. And then, yeah, just the start menu here. And by the way, Doom is running on like a DOS emulator, so we can do any kind of DOS apps, basically, including DOS itself here. Just a legit DOS right there. And I put a few other games on there. I mean, I don't want to go too copyright crazy or anything, so I didn't go nuts with it, but Commander Keen as well. And these load incredibly fast on my new computer compared to how they were in my old one, actually, so I'm happy with that. Hopefully it's not affecting the stream at all. So that's the hope of what we're going to make one day. When do I think it'll be at that state? Many streams, I would say, many streams. Probably like, if we're in episode 5 now, maybe episode 30 or something like that. I mean, it's gonna be by episode 10, some of the base components. I don't know where we're gonna be on the apps, but I mean, we're gonna do a wallpaper today. We're gonna look at the old code for that a bit. And we're probably not gonna have the rainbow effect part of it yet. But we'll look at how I did part of it, which is using a library, by the way. I'm not a 3D game animator type, so it's not like I made that from scratch or nothing. And there's a bit of that here for a lot of the apps where I've leveraged libraries. I don't think that's a problem, to be honest. I mean, a lot of the UI elements I've definitely built myself, and you guys will see, so it's a balancing act anyways. And yeah, I've got a bunch of show notes here that we can go over, so I think we're going to be good for 3 hours. Don't quote me on that though, so we'll see. But I think we can just dive into it and get into the episode recap that I like to do. I try to keep them pretty short, but let's just go into my redo branches commit history to see our last time. As always, I sneak the stream notes in there at the end of the stream. So as you see, the last stream ended, well, the stream was on the 23rd, but I stay up kind of late to finish it. So I ended up committing it on the 24th. I've also figured out that I can do a pop-out window for YouTube for chat. I didn't realize I could do that before, so I'm hoping I'll be able to answer your chat questions a little bit better because before I kind of had to peek at them in the corner, and now I see them kind of right in my periphery, as they call it. So let's go over these updates here. What did I do? I wrote little notes as to what I did. Oh, right, I put in my notes to say bug fixes and improvements. That's like an inside joke / open source joke that some pieces of software, when they do updates, it'll just say in the changelog, bug fixes and improvements. I think Slack has done this a couple times with some of their fixes. So you look at the app and you're like, what'd they change? Oh, okay, bug fixes and improvements. I mean, it's pretty general. And we did a bit of that, a bit of refactoring, that kind of stuff. But let's look at the specific commits here. We did the NPM updates that we always do. That's kind of me just reminding everybody about different maintainer stuff for repo that you can do. You don't have to do that, but you could. I like doing it, actually. I enjoy getting the updates for some reason. I don't know. Sometimes they add new features, so it's kind of cool when... Like Next.js, I think, has an update, and I ended up looking through their changelog just a couple days ago. We'll do the update, but long story short, there's nothing interesting in there, so I'm not going to do an update and then show you some new feature, but I do keep an eye on some of those changelogs for the big packages. So as we're building the package, let's say React 18 comes out, and we want to put React 18 in our code, we're going to do that, and then we can talk about, what are the cool new things we can do with React 18, that kind of thing, if there are any. And I don't know what React 18 will be, by the way. I don't even know what's in the pipeline there. It's too much to keep track of for everything. But when new stuff comes out, that's a fun thing with side projects, is like when new libraries come out and you work at a company, it's not always typical to just be like, hey, let's upgrade everything right away. It's like, that's not going to happen anytime soon. We got all these other priorities. But with side projects, you can kind of do that yourself and start playing with the newest, latest and greatest stuff. So that's one cool thing. So we did the updates, we renamed some files. I don't think we'll have to do this episode, but that happens sometimes. I don't have a linting rule for that, but you can name a file JSX or TSX and not actually have it contain any JSX. That's a little thing you can do. And I prefer not to do that. So I like to fix the file names when I notice that I did it wrong. Fixed processes type. Yeah, this was a kudos to a previous comment, which I like, and I hope we can get some comments this time when I screw up and I don't notice it till later. Was that I put process instead of processes, and we ended up wasting a bunch of time a couple streams ago messing with that, and it was just a couple of letters. Typical programmer thing. Refactored the processes types. Yeah, I kind of cleaned up some of the types a little bit. Cleaned up the state context. I've got a lot of different ideas today for this stream for refactors too, so we're kind of going to refactor the refactors, and that's another fun part of the side project thing too, where it's actually a lot harder to do that when you work at a company, but you can learn a lot from refactoring. But in companies, it's like, okay, it works, like let's move on to the next ticket, or we got a ton of other goals this sprint, you know? Whereas with your side project, you can kind of just keep doing refactors and think of better ways to do it. And then let's say you iterate over it 3 or 4 times. And once you have that 4th time, it's like now that's the level that you're at for that piece of code in whatever way you've decided to do it. And it's better that way, because then it's not something where you're having to remember, like somebody gave you a tip. It's you kind of took the steps yourself. So now you'll know if you start writing it the old way, you're going to remember that time I refactored it all the way up to this, you know, and you can just write it that way initially. I mean, that's a hope. I don't always retain everything, but that definitely helps me versus like a tutorial or just reading something versus doing it. I always like retain it way better from doing it. It's like if my head's already gone through the steps, then I kind of, the path's already there a little bit, as opposed to just kind of jumping to the end with a tutorial or just reading something. What else did we do here? Typified style component themes. Right, that was a cool one. I love that we could do that. So styled components, they have themes, and we've been able to update the default theme so that we can have our types there as well. So now when you're writing a styled component and you go to use the theme, you get that Intellisense autocomplete as well from the IDE, and you can't do the wrong colors or whatever the variables happen to be. You know, it basically makes it a bit more idiot proof. The using of the theme. Moved jest import into config. Yeah, that's a little shortcut you can do with jest, where if it's just a straight up import, you can just put it right in the setup instead of referring to a file and then doing an import there. It's a nice little trick. Moved from window manager to process loader. Yeah, I've stuck with process loader now. I like that more. It's kind of just the idea that there's processes that are windowed and there's processes that aren't windowed. But as far as a window manager, I don't know. I mean, probably Windows has something like that, some equivalent, and then it's probably separate from a process. But for what we need it for, I don't know if we need to do that separation yet. So I haven't found a use case yet for the window manager in a form that makes sense to me. I built a session context so we can update the theme at some point. Not that we have yet. And I'm not sure if we'll get into today of reading, like storing the theme in the session, storing the session and reading the past session. We're probably going to use local storage for now. Although, now I remember, we probably won't get into it this episode because I want to use the file system, I think. I'd like it if the session is like stored as like a file in our fake file system directory structure, because that's a cool thing that's actually very possible with, I'll just jump to this right now. I was going to talk about it later, but let me find the URL here because I mentioned it. It's called browserfs, and it's what we're going to eventually leverage for the file system. BrowserFS is an in-browser file system that emulates the Node.js file system API and supports storing and retrieving files from various backends. This is a powerful little library that somebody's made. It's actually pretty easy to set up too. Like the config is very straightforward, and you can have this like file system just like how I have here. Like I'm leveraging it here within this structure. So like this is referring to a folder, I think, and I'm using a JSON thing where I kind of created it because I didn't like the structure that actually they use here. Why did I do that? I'm trying to remember why. I think there's some inefficiencies to it that we'll have to resolve. I think like by using this fake structure, you end up doing a lot more network requests than are probably reasonable. Just to do this emulation. Was it network requests? What was it? I can't remember what it was. It was something arbitrary, but let's not get into the performance and optimization at this point. But you can see local storage, HTML5FS, IndexedDB, in-memory, ZipFS, and you can combine all these things. So like you can say it's when you read from it, it reads from here. When you write from it, it writes from there. So we'll have like a folder with our OS that'll always have the same files, just like I have here. They're in my public folder. You can see here we have favicon already. That's equivalent to what I have in the code under public favicon. I just have a bunch of other stuff here that are like fake shortcuts and stuff. But I'm thinking we'll store the session here or in a folder. But that'll be that half and half thing where that's going to be a writable element that's stored somewhere else, maybe in the local storage, but we're not going to manipulate window.local storage ourselves. We're going to do this fake file system. And then the advantage of there is we get it in our file system. And I'm hoping one day to have way more functionality than I have now, but already I have a lot. Like you can actually drag and drop something onto the desktop here from your computer onto my browser, and it can do stuff. And that's where it gets cool, because you can drag, like we have that with that Windows 93 guy has that. Yeah, this Windows 93 one that I've shown you guys before. It's going really slow here. Actually, it's not that slow. I think it's like fake that it loads like that. So you see here, this is the Windows 93 guy. This is another one that was a very big inspiration to me. And if I just drag on my todo.txt, I drag it on and I drop it there, you see that I dragged it. That was a file I dragged off my desktop. And I do have some ability to do that with my thing, but I could go so much further, and it works in this way too. So even the session, someone could delete their session by deleting that file, and it would actually reset all their settings, or they could go in and edit the file once we have like a text editor or whatever format we make it in, a JSON editor, let's say. If we have a fancy JSON editor, I don't see why we would, but anyways, they can go in and edit and mess with their own session if they wanted to, I want, like, that's almost like very meta inception-y, and that's kind of something I'd like to be able to do with it. I don't know if I said hi to the viewers. There's been a couple viewers here and there on and off, and just another hello. Thanks for tuning in before or after, whatever order you happen to be checking this out. So yeah, browser FS, long story short, that's what session context is going to be. The session is going to be like, if you first visit the site, it's going to make that session file. Just like how Windows does for tons of stuff. Windows has a lot of files that are session related. I mean, they have stuff in the registry too. It's all over the place, but I think we're going to do a file because it's just cool, and we get to leverage all that meta stuff I was telling you guys about. And then I added a Windows component wrapper. So we do kind of have a wrapper now. We have a window. It doesn't look like very much right now because I don't think we have a title bar. I think the width is 100% or something. Like, we're actually just going to hide it probably. I'm not even going to load the Hello World app right now that has a window that's windowed. I'm just going to focus on, like I said, the wallpaper and the taskbar. And the final commit I did was better contrast for title. Right, that was because we started doing new Lighthouse tests, and it turned out my Hello World versus the background color for it was out of contrast, and that's the kind of cool stuff you can get with accessibility tests. And that's something we could get deeper into. I mean, once the app's done and we start getting into DevOps, server, and that kind of stuff, we could add a bunch more automation too for, like, when code's done, run it through Lighthouse tests, run it through these tests. And in the future, I'd like to do integration tests too. One second. Oh yeah, Red Bull, sponsored by Red Bull. Not really sponsored by Red Bull, but my life is sponsored by Red Bull some days. This is the blue one. This is the best. I said the red one was pretty good earlier, but it doesn't hold up to the blue one. So yeah, we can have these like Lighthouse tests and just different tests. There's so many command line interface ways to scan code that we haven't even leveraged yet. Oh, and in testing, what I was going to say is Cypress. I was going to talk about these. I'm talking about the things I was going to talk about at the end, at the start, but it's arbitrary, I guess. This is Cypress here. It's like the web has evolved. Finally, testing has too fast, easy, and reliable testing for anything that runs in the browser. You can see. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I didn't jump to the browser. Dope. Cypress, yeah. So it's kind of like, how we have Jest to kind of run unit tests and very specific tests on specific things. The Cypress integrated tests can almost do more of a story of how the components will work together. And I think you can see an example for it here. I can press play and see what happens here. Takes me to Vimeo. I don't want to hear the audio for it, but if we just get into it quick. Yeah, you see here on the left, it's kind of doing the tests. So our window thing could be like, it could pull up here with like a Windows, and it could start doing like run Doom, move the window here, maximize it there, and run through those scenarios. And I mean, one advantage you get of that is like, that's something you do as a developer anyway. When you're making something, is like you do all those little tests. Does it still maximize? Does it minimize? So once you've automated those things out, then it can be nice to have that before it even works. because then it can help you when you start changing the code. It's like, did this fix the problem? Run the tests, you know? And then if you got a computer fast enough, it can do all that stuff quite quick. And another advantage with these too, I haven't played too much with Cypress, but I'd used Selenium in the past with Browser Stack, I think it was called, which was like a web service. But it allowed me to, once you set up the motions like open window, close window, that kind of thing, and you build that language around it. Cheers to the caffeine I got from Daniel here. Thank you on the chat there. Oh man, the chat just totally derailed my train of thought though, unfortunately. C'est la vie. It wasn't important, I'm sure. Cypress, yes, in regards to the integrated testing. Different browsers. No, it's fine. Daniel laughed at me. Yeah, my train of thought is very easy to derail, so it's okay. But yeah, the ability to run it in different browsers too, because I pretty much only test in Chrome most of the time. I mean, once I have more of a final product, I mean, I don't just test in Chrome at work, but when I'm doing a personal side project, hey, if it runs in Chrome, I'm happy most of the time. And then if someone wants to tell me about a bug in Safari or Firefox, I'll look into it. But that's not ideal, honestly. And that's where once you have this integration testing, there is the opportunity to run the same kind of tests on different browsers, depending on how Cypress works and if that's the way we want to do it. Because I know I think it was Browser Stack. Let me put Browser Stack. Was that what it was called? Yeah, these guys. These guys have a pretty cool service. I mean, it says free. I don't know what it is for what you get for free, but they can kind of run these tests, and they have just every kind of environment. So you can test on a real iPhone, whatever browser you want. Like if I wanted to test Safari right now, I don't really have anything set up to test Safari at all. You know, I mean, I'm on a Windows box. I don't have any Mac around. Maybe I could set up some virtual machine or something. I don't know. I don't have anything quick anyways, but with Browser Stack or something like that, you could, I guess. If they want to sponsor me, by the way. That's not a sponsored thing. I don't think I'll probably have sponsors for a very long time. I thought I had a sponsor when I first started my channel. Somebody contacted me about reviewing a desk. And I was like, oh, sure, I'll review your desk. And I don't know if they made a mistake and then they looked further and decided against it, but they never did respond. So I'm still waiting for my standing desk to review. And once I'm big, you've lost your opportunity. So you better get in quick, you know? So yeah, we've kind of gone over the commits. We've talked about testing, which we'll do more of in the future. I think we can start getting into the next piece, which is going to be me looking at my notes to figure out what the next piece is, which it's good to have these notes. So I've set up, yeah, I've got everything the same, hopefully. I don't know if people notice things are minorly tweaked, but I lost all my OBS settings when I reinstalled Windows with the new computer. So I've kind of just tried to put it back by memory to how I had it. I think it works pretty good. If you guys feel like you're having trouble reading the code or something, or it's not quite legible, I can zoom in more. But I thought this was a decent size, so I'm going to go with it for now. I know some people, I've seen so many streams on YouTube where like, it's just tiny, the code, and it's like surprising no one tells them about it because it's like illegible sometimes. I got an LGTM from Daniel, so that means looks good to me, I believe. I think that's the acronym. So let's get on to it. Oh, I didn't even mention that when I adjusted contrast, it gave me a 100% lighthouse score and little fireworks exploded. I'll show you that again sometime, or you guys can check the stream, but there were fireworks in the last stream. So if you missed it, you know, that's on you. So yeah, let's just get right onto it and start with the NPM updates. My notes are a little more choppy this time. I didn't even actually make a repo. Like I've been making repos between streams to kind of try some of my stuff out and my ideas. I didn't really do it this time, so I'm gonna wing it. I want these videos to be a little more casual because sometimes it can get a bit stressful trying to be like everything's got to be perfect. Not very realistic either. So this will not be perfect is my expectation. Warning. So let's get into it. NPM outdated. What happened already? Did you mean? Oh, I probably spelt it wrong. That's a good way to start things. Oh yeah, nice. So NPM outdated just kind of shows you what you have outdated. And like I said, Next.js needs an update. It's a crappy update, so we'll do it, but I'm not going to look for new features or nothing. NDSLint got an update, but whatever. Next.js though, that's worth looking into. You know, when you get an update to your main framework, it's like, I mean, a breaking change is a breaking change, so you should probably take a peek at it. But in this case, it's a very minor version. Let's look at Semver really quick, because last episode I couldn't remember what the versioning was there. It's like major. Here we go. Major, minor, patch. That was what I didn't remember before. Patch. So just a patch release. They went from 10. What did they go from? 10.05 to 10.06. So the patch version changed. The minor version did not change, and you probably shouldn't even. I mean, I don't know what the ruling is on breaking changes, but I would expect breaking changes to be on the major versions, but maybe the minor ones too, I guess. I mean, that's not unreasonable, I guess. I don't know if there's a best practice for that though. So yeah, we've done the updates. I'm gonna remember this time to commit, and I don't know if you guys noticed, but my computer feels to me very snappy. So I'm hoping that the streams will show that, and it'll be a little bit quicker for you guys too. I definitely haven't had any drops yet, but the drops come when I start doing more NPM commands and stuff. So let's see how it goes. So let's just do NPM updates, and we check in our lock file. Watch this. I can look at that. I could look at the lock file so fast. And yeah, it complains, whoa, too many lines. I know, but I was able to look at it right away. That is something that I would not have been able to do on my old computer, so I literally avoided clicking the lock file because it would just mess things up on my computer. So it's the little things in life that are important. Oh, I've never done a commit before on this editor because I just installed it. Always, yes. If I don't stage, what? Oh, I haven't even set up my email, guys. Oh my God, on my Git. Have I set up Git? How do you set up Git email? This is a fun little exercise. I guess I never did the video where we set up everything, so this is like that video, except I messed things up. Here we go. I love these little Google things. I don't know when they started doing these featured snippets. Feels like a decade ago they did, but they're sure a good idea. So let's just see. This is just me Googling stuff. So let's just, that's my username. That's not enough, but let's assume that email is exactly the same idea. And you guys can see my email. I don't see a problem in that. I think I've put it in 100 million places on the internet. It's probably not that, but oh, it's user.email. I can already see in my other window out of the side of my eye. Okay, so let's say I've set that up. Now let's see if it stops complaining when I try to do the commit. Looks like it. Let's push that too, just to make sure. What's it complaining about here? Don't show this again. I don't care about that. Yeah, I'm pushing to the redo branch. So let's quickly sneak on our browser here. Oh God, now it's asking me to sign in and stuff here. I never did any of this stuff, guys. Sorry. There we go. Easy though. Yeah, I didn't do any commits like I was telling you before, so I think that it worked. Would you like code to periodically run git fetch? Okay, yeah. Back to what I was doing here. I just wanted to see if that commit slipped in there and make sure my git's working right. Okay, cool, it is. And as you can see, this orange yellow here, so the pipeline is being checked. Daniel, I just heard, oh my git. That might have, yeah, is that what I said? Yeah, that's funny. If that's what I said. That's the new OMG, I guess. Oh my git. All right, so git has worked now, and that committed fine. So we can move on to whatever the next thing is, which my notes will tell me about. Deal with to-dos. Ah, yes. So I read a couple of to-dos last time, and I told you guys I would give it a shot on throwing that in the project board. I'd like to start a project board for GitHub. I've never actually done one on GitHub, so it's another experiment that we're doing together. And just let's do a search here for our to-dos first and see which ones we have. So we got one here. Add linting rule to catch key required. Yeah, this is something I looked into, and I couldn't quite figure out why it's not working. But if I delete the keys here, oops, and if I do that, it definitely doesn't work. But if I delete the keys, you know, ESLint's not complaining, but it definitely complains when I run React. And this is invalid, I believe. So I'm not sure if if it's so nested that it's confused, or if it's because of this conditional. I don't think it is the condition. Let me try that. I want it to complain, you know? This is complaining about indentation, I think. What's it complaining about now? Oh, okay. Well, that was easy to solve. So it's related to the being conditional. I wonder how I should resolve that. If there should be like some kind of wrapper component, and then this is dumped inside it. Like, no, that doesn't make sense. I don't like that idea either. Well, let's make that the note then for what we do on the project board, because I don't want to deal with this today. It's not relevant, you know? As long as we're putting key in, that works. But maybe there's some approach where we only need to do key once. It's a little repetitive, but let's go to the project board. Now, let's make a note first of what we know is wrong now. Doesn't work because it's behind a condition. And if anybody knows why it doesn't work, we can just solve it right now. But let's figure out this project board, because I'm interested in that. So we're in GitHub here, and we go to projects for the project. And look at all these things it promises it can do. Sort task, plan your project, automate workflow. I don't care about right now. I don't care about a huge chunk of these, but let's just press create project. So project board, so let's call it XV2, right? That's cool. Because X is the name that I've given to this project in the past, and V2 because it's the second one. Template, I don't know what that is. Basic Kanban, automatic Kanban. I wanted to do a Kanban board, that's for sure. With reviews, let's just do basic Kanban then, and let's just start out from scratch, completely blank. Let's do basic Kanban, because I really just wanted to do a Kanban board for right now. Cool, we got one. So that looks simple. We got a to-do here. We got a couple of to-dos. We have the ability to add cards. Okay. So I don't care about any of these to-dos. How do we nuke these things? Delete note. Yeah, get rid of these. I like to have the stuff be tidy. So I'm just going to get rid of this crap right now and get our board empty. Okay, cool. So we have some to-dos. Can I rename this to capital to-dos? I much prefer that, honestly. Let's program this up. Okay, so we have our little to-do thing. Now, if we go back to what the problem was, it was related to this gibberish here. So let's just copy that and then massage it over here. So I think I just click here to add something, and then we add a note. So let's say, switch it from add to fix. Fix linting rule to catch key required behind conditions. And I press add, and there we go. And I don't need to get that out of the way. So now we have a little note here, and I could probably do labels and stuff. Convert to issue. Yeah, I could convert it to an issue. I don't want to right now. There's already a bunch of issues I'm not dealing with from V1. That's why I made V2, because I don't want to deal with the issues from V1, essentially. It's a half joke, but I want to just make it better, kind of, you know. Some of the issues that I don't know if the issues here are related. No instructions. Yeah. Terrible performance in Firefox. Debatable. Cannot resize WinMap? Cannot type on MS-DOS. Yeah, almost all of those programs are related to libraries that are out of my control, so I'm not going to worry about that. But there we go. We got a Kanban board. So now we have this noted, because something I was going to say is I actually don't want the to-dos to be in the code, because it just adds lines. It just adds mess to the code. That's the whole point of the board, is just to organize that stuff. You can have some to-dos in there and stuff. What did I break? How did I break something? Cannot find Babel. What? That's weird. Wasn't this just working, right? Okay, let's try an NPM. Oh, maybe because Next.js updated while I'm running dev on another console here. Oh yeah, I think it's angry about something there. Let's just rerun dev here. Oops, deck. That won't work. So yeah, when in doubt, just reboot. And there we go. Now it's back up. And you guys notice it's quick now. It's quick. Got a quick computer. Nice and quick. Unfortunately, not as quick as I wanted. This is if you guys remember from last stream, I was hoping to get the 5900X, the Ryzen 9 Zen 3. But I just don't think that's coming in stock anytime soon. And at the same time, the one I had, this 3900X is pretty much doing most of what I want anyways. I'm not doing too much gaming or anything. So that was one of the big improvements with the 5000 series. It's confusing the way they named it too. The Zen 3 is the new one, but I have the Series 3, the 3000 series, third generation, I think. So the fourth generation is Zen 3, I believe. Just to be a little confusing there. I could be wrong on that, but I don't think so. Let's go to the next to-do. Load user theme from local storage. Well, we just discussed this. We're not going to do that actually. We are going to have a file. So it will be from local storage probably, perhaps, but it's not going to be from a mechanism we write. It's just going to be part of the FS commands. If you guys are familiar with Node.js, by the way, in regards to the browser FS and the API that they emulate, it's the same basic stuff where it's like fs.read file, that kind of stuff. And those commands typically make network requests depending on where the file is, you know, if it's in a fake folder. Yeah, I think that was it. It was too many network requests, and I found a way to like kind of buffer it at the start and pre-populate it initially, because it basically has to do network requests because the files are in URL resources. So simple. So we removed that. What's next in our list? We had one more to do. Check type errors on pre-commit. Check type errors on pre-commit. I think this is just a hopeful thing here. What did I write a note as to what I plan to remedy that with? Oh yes, add NPM build step. Duh. Right. This was in regard to, where was it here? I think it was in my processor context. No, it was in process directory. And I changed this, and it was still referencing process directory. And I believe I committed some code where this was just dead wrong. But the test passed, I believe. Did the test pass? It probably did, I think, for some reason. No, there's no way it would have. Oh yeah, because this is types, so it probably did pass. Yeah, it didn't care about these types, basically. That was the problem. And the solution to that is just running npm build. Because if you do an npm build, it's pretty strict. It checks a lot more. Let's do one right now, in fact. npm run build. And presumably it'll do it at a reasonable speed. And if the code is okay, there should not be any errors. There we go. That's what you'd expect. And if this were wrong, even if it's just a type, it'll complain. But the code would run, I think, if the type was wrong, which was why I didn't catch it. And so my solution here was to just do npm build within the CI, kind of after jest as another test, kind of. And maybe that's not the most sensible approach. I haven't completely thought it out. Maybe we'll split it up at some point. But I think I don't want to waste the time splitting this up into 2 tasks right now, because it's already doing npm install and it gets all the modules. So it's ready to do a build. If I were to run another job, then it's going to have to do all that stuff again. And it just seems like a waste of resources. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add it at the bottom here. I wonder, I should just do the build first, because if it doesn't build, let's not waste our time with the tests, right? I think there's probably some sense to that. So npm install modules, run build, run tests, right? And this needs to be npm run build, I think. Or can it be npm build? Can I cut it down a little bit? No. Yeah. In this case, you need to use the script. But for some of them, you don't. Like for test here, it knows to check the scripts. Probably should be able to for build too, I feel like, but whatever. So let's assume that worked, and we'll commit this, because then we can see in the CI that it'll do a build. And we'll be able to see these same kind of results here like we see. Yeah, let's do that. That's it. So what did I change here? Oh, this was, I got rid of the to-dos. Yeah, I'll make this all part of one commit. So removed to-dos. That should be the secondary thing I mentioned because it's less relevant. Added build step to CI. Oops. And remove to-dos. Yeah, that's good. That fits within the text limit. So yeah, I removed the to-dos to get those out of the code. This is in the project board now. This we're going to deal with later with session, and this is we're remedying right now. Wait a minute, I didn't get rid of the to-do, right? I need to get rid of this to-do if I'm solving the problem. So check type errors on pre-commit. No, I'm not doing it on pre-commit, because that would require everybody doing a commit to run the build. I don't think that's necessary. Let's just do it at the same time we're doing the tests. Seems like a fine time to do it. That's on every commit, which is, it's not bad. Some people don't push their commits for a long time, so. That's on every pushed commit, I guess. You could do 3 commits and then do a push, and then it would only run once, I'm guessing. Yeah, just on pushing of those commits. So on push. That's really reasonable. So yeah, we removed the to-dos and we added the build step. Let's throw it in. Throw it up on the old GitHub. And we push like so, and then let's go check out in the browser, and let's see if it's been if it's behaved. Actions, right? I'm looking for it somewhere else for some reason. Pipeline or something. I'm expecting to find it in. Delicious. Flavor blue. So yeah, looks like it's running here. So let's check it out. Or maybe I should have named it something else. I mean, I guess I'm only running build as a test. I don't do anything with the build, so maybe the job could still be named tests, right? It's still a test, but it does have the extra step here, you see, run build. So it's not there yet. Let's not watch paint dry, and let's just move on, and I'll tell you how it goes. So we got those two, right? This is something I forgot to do last time. Alphabetize Stylelint config, pretty minor, but it's been bugging me. Within the Stylelint config, which is right here, these are not alphabetical. I should probably get an ESLint rule to check this kind of stuff, but yeah, I probably should. That's probably another thing to add to my to-dos. But anyways, this is alphabetical now. That's nice. Element of P, Q, R, S. Yeah, that's alphabetical. P comes before S, just so you guys know, in case anyone was wondering. Let's actually add a note about that. As we see here, it worked. So my build worked and we got the result we wanted. That's correct. Yeah. So cool. Had there been an error there, had there been a type error, it would have failed. And then we would have been notified that the pipeline failed. So let's just go into the project here and add another to-do, which was to check for, what was it again? Check for alphabetization of, I don't know, everything that you can. Array properties, I guess. Array properties, yeah. JSON array properties. Let's not even be that specific. We know what we mean when we write this. So there we go. Another thing to add to the pile of things we got to do. So very simple one. Alphabet styled Stylelint config. Alpha is a technical term for I don't want to spell alphabetized. I guess I could have just copied it from here. Add VS Code extensions recommended. Yeah, so I wanted to do a little bit of that, of adding this cool VS Code thing, because it just seems like a good idea to be when someone else checks out the repo, there's a few extensions I would like them to have all the time. I mean, it's up to you. You don't have to install them, but they're going to help you work with the repo. So we got ESLint, we got Stylelint, and VS Code icons. You need the icons, guys. No. And styled components. VS Code styled components. So this lets you see the proper styling for the styled components. Those are useful. So what I found a way to do it here. Let's look at the URL. When I put URLs, I try to go to them because they pad the stream with content and they show you guys some cool stuff. So this is just on VS Code's site, and they kind of tell you here workspace recommended extensions, and they tell you how to do it. So they say here you can do a command, extensions, config recommended, blah, blah, blah. I wanted to show you this, guys, actually, too, to show you how commands are easy to do. So I don't remember any keyboard shortcuts, basically, but I do remember one, at least. I remember maybe more than one, but barely. So Control P, that is really useful, because once you do Control P, you can start typing like a file, like let's say the window. So you see it starts recommending the window stuff up here. Oops, sorry, up here. But one other trick is then there's some way to get to like a different version of this where it's like already got this, but what you can do is just put this little arrow here, and now you can run all the like the VS Code commands and stuff. And then if you saw that command there, it had the word recommended somewhere. So if we just type recommend, you see here, it already shows you the stuff. So you see the one we wanted here, configure recommended extensions. We just click that and it makes the file we want already, like boom. And now all we have to do, let's kill this and close that. So we're gonna remove the comments because I don't like comments typically. I like them sometimes if they make sense, but we don't need these. We know what this file's for. If we wanna know about this or anything like that, we'll just go and figure that out ourselves, you know, when the need arises. But we want these recommendations. And which recommendations did I say we wanted? We wanted the ESLint, and I found out you can just right click this and press copy extension ID. So we'll do that. We'll say we want this one, and we'll alphabetize these, of course, guys. We want Stylelint, copy that extension ID for checking your styles, and we want the VS Code styled components so that you guys get that nice styleless stuff and the ID colors it the way you want. So we got DJ, and let's get the S at the bottom here. There we go. So there we go. We got some extensions. So now if you were to load the repo and you didn't have these extensions, or if you didn't have all of them, perhaps I'm assuming, a little box at the bottom right pops up and says, would you like the recommended extensions for this repository? So I'm perfectly happy to recommend those 3 extensions. I could even recommend a few more. I want to do another video eventually about VS Code extensions that I like, but I'll just quickly give you them right now. The bracket pair colorizer, that's super helpful for knowing which bracket's which. You see these are blue, these are purple, that's super helpful. Git lens, that's super helpful when you're working on big repos, or just for companies and stuff too, in that it kind of, it gives you so much information. Like you see here on the line, why is it not giving useful information there? It's on like a per line basis, it just tells you a ton of history about each line. I mean, Git's already pretty cool with how far back you can go in the history and stuff. And this Git lens is just like it's a lens into that. Monakai Pro, that's my theme. I've had several people ask me what theme I use, so I'll mention it here again, Monakai Pro. And I'll just get through these quick. IntelliCode, that's another one, helps you AI-assisted development. That sounds cool. And then the VS Code icons, because I just like to have these icons here. It's just, I like color, a little bit of color, splash of color here and there. So Anyways, we've added the extensions, so that's all we have to do there. And all it did was add in the VS Code. It made a .vs Code folder and made a extensions.json. And inside that, very simple, an array which is recommended. That's pretty clean. I'm happy with what that added. So added recommended VS Code extensions. And maybe there's something like this for Vim or whatever too, if someone wants to throw me a commit for that. I don't even know if I'd approve that, honestly. Just don't use Vim, I don't think. I mean, I don't want to get into a debate on that, guys, but I think the thing about the Vim and the VS Code argument that's not discussed about enough is how quickly can someone navigate the UI versus through text? Like, I want to see some competitions, you know? I want to see Vim versus VS Code. You guys have to do this. And I think it's going to depend on the workload, you know, or depending on what you're coding. I mean, I'm sure there's some scenario where Vim's faster, especially if you're some keyboard warrior and you know all the buttons. But in general, you know, I can click pretty fast, you know, I can copy and paste pretty quick. I know about Control A, Control C, all that stuff, man. So, you know, it'd be interesting. I don't think I've seen that. So I'd like to see some competition there. Anyway, we've committed it. What can we do about themes.json not having color Intellisense? Yeah, this is just a question I want to pose to the viewer out there. It was a problem from last time and someone suggested an extension, but I tried a few extensions like Colorize and stuff, and they actually don't work on JSON. So it didn't really work. So that's where we have to get to the thing. Like, see, if you go themes here, so these colors, there's no suggestions or anything. Like, I remember fighting earlier in the last stream to remember if black was FFF or 000. And I could have just typed black and then hovered over VS Code. In the past, that's what I would have done. And it would have suggested stuff all pretty for me in my GUI that I love. But it doesn't do that with these JSON files and with this theme and the fact that it's in quotes like this. It just doesn't recognize it. And I don't have a solution to that. And it's probably not a big deal because you're not exactly editing this theme a ton of times. And I'm not even going to be doing auto information for colors. I might though, because I like the RGB thing and then I like to turn it to hex sometimes. But I wonder if you can do RGB here like that, like just RGB 1, 2, 3. Probably you can. But again, it doesn't, I want auto detect. I want information. So that's if you guys are interested, if anyone can solve that, throw it in the comments. If anyone's seen this that has any interest in figuring that out. Your theme is in JSON or wherever we end up putting it, but this format of the theme being like an object, how do I make this pretty? I want color here. I want information. So noodle that one over, guys. So that was just the maintenance and housekeeping. Now we can move on to the refactoring. And just to tell you guys, after we're done the refactoring, then we'll get into the wallpaper and to the taskbar. And I think a big part of the taskbar is going to just be about talking about the mocking of it up. And we'll probably do something with it as well, but I don't know how deep we'll go with that. Like I said, I haven't thought all that out, but I've thought out a lot of refactors, and I'd like to get into those today. And maybe if you guys have watched the streams or you've been following along and written similar code, it could be cool for you to see these refactors and be like, and maybe you thought of it when you wrote it, or maybe you've done the refactors, you know, if you're following along or if you're doing something similar, who knows? So let's get into them. Add RenderProcess component to process loader for the loop. Yeah, I think I just wanted to make this a little more clear here in that, no, not here. Where is it that I wanted to do this? The loop in the process loader. What did I just read? I read it and then I didn't listen. So within the process loader here, just this little bit right here. Where is it? This piece here. I mean, it's like you got code here doing one thing, and then I feel like you got code here doing another thing. They're associated with each other anyways, but it's like if you just came in looking at this, it's like there's a bunch of lines here. Is looping through something? There's a window condition. Okay. I mean, I'm not going to make it a million times more readable, but I'm at least going to extract this out slightly for now until I don't like that I did it. And I think I was going to call it render processes. I think that makes sense because some of them you render as system components like the taskbar, whereas others you render by wrapping them in a window or something. So there's some rendering going on. And I had a problem with this the other day. Let's just start writing it out and try to, let's not give myself a headache here. I think I remember the solution I came to. I couldn't figure out with types. If I just wanted to do this and just dump the array, like essentially that's what's going on here. This is already what's here. Well, I guess it's within the function. Hey, it's been wrapped here. The issue I had was that it doesn't like this because I couldn't figure out the type for it. So like if I did RenderProcess here, we need to say that the processes are being passed, right? and this is a functional component. Yeah, see, it's already complaining because this is essentially returning an array of functional components. And I tried doing something like that, and oh wait, now it's fine. Oh yes, it had an issue with the types then, and I think I couldn't get it to resolve that. Let's just try it again and see if we have the exact same problem, right? So this is processes, and it imported that, and it's going to complain that it's not a type. We'll fix that. And I'm just going to extract this out right now. This was just me making a lazy type here, but let's call it the render processes props, just to be way more verbose than some people might think is necessary. So that was my idea for that. That does not work, you know? That looks cleaner to me than the solution that I'm going to show you guys that I came up with. The solution I came up with was just get rid of the fact that it's an array, and then, you know what? It's not an array. It's a fragment. So, like so, and then it just stops complaining, you know? And for that reason, I've kind of just accepted it for now, because I'm not sure how to say that it's returning this type of thing. I might just be missing something obvious. I didn't give it a ton of thought, but let's just finish this refactor first and then step back and see how it looks. So I want to just do the render processes here, and I'm going to pass the processes like so, and then we can get rid of all that. And we can even probably put this on one line, I bet. So that looks a little bit cleaner. So now when you look at the process loader, you're like, okay, it's doing the process consumer where it grabs the processes and then passes them to the render processes component. That, at least then, okay, I'm done thinking about anything going on there. And now I can just focus on how does a process render. And I wonder if you could even just do render process here, right? But then at that point, maybe I should have just put this here in the first place. Maybe I should have. I don't need to extract out everything. You can go overboard with that, I guess. Let's just try to do that though. Let's go one step further down the rabbit hole. This also will be a functional component. It's also going to have to be wrapped the same way, I guess. Maybe this will help us with the key, actually. It probably will. It will really help us with the key. Let's just write it out. So we want this piece, right? What do we need? We need the component and we need the has window. Can we just do it like that? Does that make sense to do that? No, I don't like that. Let's just see what it'll look like here. So this is the fun part about doing React and when you're making components too, is you can really just start mocking out the idea very easily, and you don't have to move around a ton of code. I mean, we're not working with a ton of code here. So within render processes, we have a render process. Yeah, I really don't like this. We'll have to solve that at some point. But it's, you know, we just, that's what all this refactoring is about. So we'll come back to that later. So render processes, and let's just pass in those two props. Render process takes a component, and it takes whether it has the window. Or do we even need to do that? Let's do it for now like that. I wonder if it makes more sense to just pass process here though. Well, one step at a time. I keep getting ahead of myself. One refactor at a time. Let's not do that. So this, I think we can just return it like that. We don't need key anymore because this is not part of a loop. So at least we get rid of that repetitive key piece. We can just copy this as is. Now we're going to have to make a render process props as well. That takes these two pieces, which we already know what these are. It's a component type, which is called component render processes props. Wait, isn't that exactly the same thing as process? There's an opportunity here to reuse a type, I think. Yeah, that's what a process is, right? Duh. So this is arbitrary. We don't need that. We just need to say it's a functional component that you pass the process. That's nicer. That's much cleaner. And we can just import that same way. Get this out of here. So that looks really nice. Render process. Yeah, now I'm liking this refactor because that's cleaner, you know? And what happened here? What's it complaining about here? Oh yeah, now, right? And now we just have the key in one place. Oh, ID. Oh yeah, I love that. That looks way cleaner, I think. So, I mean, now unfortunately it's a little more lines. We got to do some of that scroll action. Well, let's get this type out of here. So this is in the process loader. Do we have any other type like this where it's processes? I don't think so. I don't think we'd have one that we'd want to reuse in a sensible way. Let's go back to the types again. Yeah, we have the process context state, which currently matches the type that we essentially want to use here, but that's not the way to do that. Sometimes I get frustrated with how many types, how far to go with the types. I think in this scenario, let's just do the type inline. I think maybe that should be a rule. If it's like one property, do the type inline. We need to make a cutoff point for that because it's going to get out of hand. What have my types been so far? Let's just check them so far. I mean, that's inline for now. Yeah, these are going to balloon though. These should be separate because this is the context state. Currently it's just a theme, but eventually it's going to be the window positions and stuff. Same story here. Right now it's processes, but it's going to have open and close the functions in it. This here is almost useless. Do we use processes anywhere else? Yeah, if it's used in other places, that's another reason why we want to extract it. So we do use processes, I believe, in other places, such as right here, of course. So yeah, I think we're fine actually. But I prefer this approach in this case than making another type here. That's just getting a little too many. So it almost fits all in one line here. Pretty much does if I were to just do the export here. So I do like the cleanliness of that a little bit better. Process loader passes to render processes. Maybe this is not necessary. I mean, this is pretty simple already, right? Because at some point we're getting to like a one-line refactor or something. That's pretty clean as is. If I just put that on one line like that. Let's let prettier slide in here and clean this up because I don't want to start thinking how that needs to look. There we go, run a little prettier. Oh man, why did it say it ran prettier on like everything? What did you do? I think it messed with my line endings or something. But why didn't it do that at the... Well, it would have done that at the commit level then too. So it's been committing it that way the whole time. I think my line endings may have changed somehow related to the recloning of the repo. I don't know what's going on there. But let's get rid of this. So that's actually a decently nice refactor anyways. Like that. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. I mean, the process loader, okay, let's just say it's looping through something. That's essentially when it starts doing something other than consuming processes. And then we can pass it to RenderProcess and have that be somewhere else. So now we know to render a process, what do you need? You need a component. You need, oh, wait a minute here. So now we're doing passes the process. Maybe now we should just make this more simple here and go process. And then we just do like that. Oh, good. Do like this and do the spread. I think that's even cleaner yet. And it kind of makes sense because render process, you just dump in the process. That's reasonable, probably. Although at the same time, maybe at some point there will be tons of stuff in that process that you don't need to know about. And then it would be more sensible maybe to pick and choose what is required to do a render process, which currently is just has window and component. So I like this better anyways. I don't know if you guys agree with me on this refactor, but we've extracted this out, and I think for the better. And it also solved our key problem, right? I forgot about that. It solved our key problem. So now if we remove key, it complains right away. But before we had this silly, maybe that was even a sign. When ESLint stops working, you probably should refactor, you know? So this is a refactor that I'm quite happy with. And I actually wanted to do another refactor on this exact same page in this commit because I meant to do this last time, which is I wanted to make the window dynamic. If you guys remember, we have dynamic within the process loader, sorry, the process directory. Where is it here? I keep forgetting where stuff is though, which is a sign that maybe things aren't organized well enough. Here's the process directory. So if you guys remember, I have the hello world process and it's being dynamically loaded. And we'll just copy this code because it's already pretty nice. And we're going to do that for window as well, because if we do import here, it's going to become part of like the main code that a user who goes to our site is going to get. Even though it doesn't initialize, that code exists in like the bundle that they've already downloaded. Whereas, I mean, they don't need a window necessarily on load. For now, they definitely don't. So it's only once they click to the window that we're going to load the additional code necessary for the window, is my understanding of how this works. And it's extremely easy to do. So just like how the import commands there, comment this. So you can just copy window from there. You can say equals. You can use this piece here, and you can do an import like that. And this type of importing can be dynamic import with some of the new ES syntax, but for Next.js, you need to add this additional piece that's the dynamic piece. So you just do it like that, and then there you go. It's added. And I think one time what tricked me out is I did this, I cut this piece out, and I noticed it still worked. And I thought, oh, I'm being clever and it still works. But I think you lose it being dynamic if you do that. So you want it to be a function that only executes when it needs to, I believe. So let's import this. Yeah, exactly. And we want to remove it from there. So there we go. So now it's not automatically going to be importing window, and it's only when it's needed. Cannot read property window of undefined. What is it complaining about here? Within styled window. Is this related to styled window? Interesting. Let's go to styled window and see what I've broken. Actually, let's just first kill the dev environment to see if I've legitimately broken it. But I have a feeling I may have. I may have indeed broken it. Okay, I didn't. Good. We saved ourselves wasting time trying to figure that out. So I didn't break a thing. Yeah, I guess it half unloaded, half loaded, perhaps. Well, let's just look at the styled window for a second and see what could it have been talking about. I don't see what it could have been complaining about there. The theme window? Whatever it was complaining about, I don't care. It wasn't a problem. So we've refactored the process loader by removing this piece, or moving this piece out to render process. That allowed us to put the key in only one place, which is probably the best practice and probably the way it should have been. And I only noticed it because I noticed that when I removed it, I didn't get an error, and I expected there to be an error. So long story long, it's fixed. And then now this is dynamic. So that's all I've done as far as changes go. But as you saw when I ran Prettier, for some reason, it decided to change a lot. And I don't really have a clean way to undo what I've just done there. So I'm just going to commit everything here, but we're going to look through it. I think it's just line and ending changes, but let's be sure. Yeah, nothing changed. You'll see here, it's like nothing changed, nothing changed. So something changed, something with the formatting or something. I don't know what it is. There's probably an easy way to figure out, but I also don't care. I just want to make sure that nothing actually changed except the things I care to change. Okay, we'll look at that in a sec. Let's just see all these here. I'm just looking for any green or red lines to see if anything changed. It basically, yeah, it did some kind of formatting or line ending muckery to the thing. So let's check the process loader, the one I actually changed. So you see before it was like kind of all of a mess here. We had this key twice, which is a bit repetitive. We weren't loading window properly. We were just importing it right away. Now it's dynamic. Now RenderProcess has been extracted out. It's cleaner, I think. So I'm going to commit that. And yeah, we'll just talk about the commit first. Let's say added RenderProcess component and dynamic window. And should I mention the line ending thing? Or, well, I don't even know if it was line ending or not. So I'm just going to say, I'm just not even going to mention it, you know? Why even pollute a commit message with it? I wonder if in the commit, it's even visible that anything occurred. Let's do a push, and let's go to the browser, and let's see in our code, which I've got in a few places here. If we jump to code, it's going to jump to the wrong branch. I need to go to the redo branch. That's the one we're working on. And we go to our commits, wherever those are. So yeah, does it look like a ton of files changed? See, it doesn't even look like it. It's just the file that we expected to get changed. 16 additions, yeah. So what was that all about, hey? Weird. I wonder, so I've done a commit. I wonder if I run Prettier again, if it's going to do the same wonkiness. No. Maybe it was just a one-time thing and I've fixed my repo somehow or something. Let's never speak of it again. Oh, sorry, I didn't jump to the code when I showed you guys, but it made no difference, so it's fixed. Prettier, I ran Prettier again and nothing changed this time. So cool, we've done our first refactor. Or well, that was 2, I guess. Now, what was this next thing I said here? Create initial context states. Oh yeah, this gets into a whole pile of stuff I wanted to think about. Basically, this is the initial state. And I think it's not a bad idea to have this somewhere separate, perhaps, because this is going to get big, possibly, when we start talking about all the different things. And I want to do a mocked. This is essentially like a mock context, because we create context with this initial state that's essentially everything empty, and the functions I'm going to have to make empty too. So it's going to be a function that does nothing. And I don't know if this is the best approach, but I looked online for context plus React, or React context plus TypeScript, and I didn't find many ideal approaches. Like there was this approach where you set initial stuff, or there was the like all or null approach. And neither approach was ideal when you actually went to use the stuff in the consumers. It would complain. It would be like, this could be null. And then you'd have to be like specific. You'd have to say as process context or as whatever you want to use it for. Just to clarify, I don't expect this to be null. And then also to note, in this way of doing it like that, then you can set this as null. And it doesn't complain. But then when it comes time to use it, then it complains. So like, where would we use it? We use it in the process loader. It might not be complaining here because I might not be, yeah, you see? What's it saying here? Wait, what? Key is missing the following properties. Process. Why isn't it complaining about this earlier? Okay, maybe this is the issue. Let's just switch this back, right? Like so. Yeah, problem goes away. So that's not an ideal solution. And there probably is a way around that if I said like, as process, like it doesn't know that process, it's not certain that there's anything here that could be null basically. So it's just a mess. That's not the way to do it. This is the way to do it. But another research project, if you guys are interested, is there another way to do it? Context, React context plus TypeScript. I don't want to use nulls. The initial states, then I have to mock up a bunch of functions and stuff once I start having functions. Is there a third way? I don't know. So until we figure out a third way, I'm going to export these things out and we're going to use this. We're going to continue to use this approach. And I think that's kind of what I did here. Yeah, basically. No optional theme for session context. Right. What do I have to fix there? Let's do that. Let's extract out this one first. I was thinking of having one file called like initial, what did I call it here? Initial product. Yeah. Initial context states. I think that could be in the utilities because it's just essentially these mocked up ones. Might not make sense at some point, but let's put it in here for now. And we want to export. I already made a name for it, so let's take the name that I already wrote. This one's nice. Initial process context state. Pretty straightforward. And for now, that's what it is. And we'll put this here, and then we're going to take that out and bring it into where we need it, which is here. And we're going to export that, and we're also going to export the session one. So let's get into our session context and do the exact same thing. Ooh, that's the types. Session there. And yeah, in this case, it's empty. Is that what we want? Yeah, I think. No, we don't want that. That's part of what I was talking about. And that's part of this mocking that's going to have to occur is we're going to have to mock up the theme. If the session is going to have a default theme, then we're going to have a mocked up theme is where it starts getting out of hand. But hopefully it won't get out of hand. That's my hope. So let's pretend that there was actually an initial state here already. And and it would have been like this. Oh man, again, get rid of that. I just wanted some new lines here. There we go. And I also want to, in the type, yeah, if we go to the definition for this, I have it as optional right now because I was thinking, it could be optional. But I think let's just be explicit with our context state. No, nothing optional is what I'm thinking because it just makes it easier to write the code. That's another thing that this mocking stuff helps is that you can assume that the code is always, anytime you're accessing a variable or something, it's never going to be undefined because you've set everything up so that it is the way it is. And then it makes destructing assignment better. It makes accessing stuff better. It's just, you can just assume things about your code instead of having to do checks all the time, which are just a huge waste of time in JavaScript. They just bother me all the time. I mean, they're not a waste of time because you need them, but they're a waste of time because you don't need them if you code like this. So what does the theme look like again? I don't even remember. Do I have a definition of it here? Yeah, it looks like that. Let's just copy that. So let's just mock this up. And for now, we'll say nothing. I want these initial states are going to be as empty and dumb as it gets, but they get the point across. I'm expecting strings, but they're going to be empty here. I don't think that's a problem. And this is how the example went when I looked at React context and people doing TypeScript, is their initial states were extremely empty because this gets initialized right away. It's like, okay, here's your initial empty state. And then right away, we're going to be doing something with it. You know, in this case, we'd be loading the theme from that file, the session file the session context state file that we'll make one day. So let's extract this out. This is the initial state, and we'll put that in those initial context states. And it's going to be this one. And again, I've written the name already, so I'm going to copy the name. Oh, if there was an easier way to scroll left, I need a better mouse. So we've made this not optional. That can be closed. The process loader, we don't even need to reference that. Now I can click this, what I wanted to click. Here we go, there's the word. So I've also copied this one. So there we go. So we have our initial session context state and our initial process context state. And I'll put these on new lines just to make it cleaner. And there's something I kind of like about, what did this do? Defaulted to 4 spaces. I don't know why I did that. See, I've had that happen before and it's confusing because I have an editor config file that says 2 indents, but why did it default to 4 then? I don't understand. Oh, do I not have the editor config? I don't even have it in here. Maybe that's part of the problem. Editor config. Oh, this should be part of my recommended too, right guys? So now I got to copy this extension ID. I'll do this in another, I'll edit it right here just to kind of jump around on you guys, but I'm not going to commit it this one. So this is just called editor config. That's original. That's E here. There we go. That'll be another recommended that I'm going to add, but another commit. I don't know if that'll fix the problem I just had, but we'll see. The problem that I had was that it defaulted to the wrong space count here. Okay, so I've cleaned that up. Oh, this needs cleaning too. So those are our initial states. Now we need to import those because we're probably not right now. Yeah, we're not at the moment. Let's import that. There we go, nice and clean. Boy, that's long now. That's probably over 80 characters. Unfortunately, it is. So it's going to do some new line splittage there. Oh, I didn't write it here. Where are my initials? Here we go. I need that one. I usually do copy and paste. I don't like to type stuff too often. I also don't do the imports. I usually just do as much auto stuff as I can. There we go. So now we got our initial states back and it seems to be working. And yeah, let's do a prettier run here to see how it's going to break this up into different lines. That looks all right. It's not so bad. So yeah, it's actually kind of cool even. I mean, it's not yeah, I like that. It's like create context, here's the initial state. And then if you want to know the initial state, you just right click and you go there. Okay, there's your initial state. And if you don't need to know that, then it doesn't need to be pushing down your code and making it harder to read other stuff. And you can just focus on what it is. It's like, okay, this is, because if you went here going, I wonder what the session value is, and you see all this stuff and you think, oh man, is it any of this? And if you look, it's not. So it's like, oh, I can just completely, all I cared about was the session value. I can move on, you know? And now I'm just focused here. And now it's very clear what it is. So, okay, we got our first problem here. The theme can't be undefined. That's true. I think that is true because we're accessing the theme up here. Where are we accessing the theme? It's in the app, I believe. Yeah, I don't know where we're accessing the theme. I should just search for it. Well, here's styled windows. I think it's somewhere in there. No, why would I think that? Let's close this. At a certain point, you just can't avoid having too many folders and stuff, and then it gets hard to find certain things. Here we go. Go to this definition, open this. Here's the theme right here. So yeah, right out of the gate, we actually have a default here currently, which is interesting. But I think what I was thinking is I wanted to move the defaults out of here. Yeah, I wanted to have the defaults actually be in, I don't know if we can do this. I was thinking inside the next config. Yeah, I guess we could, because we could import the JSON here, and then we could start having some environmental variables. I like that idea of having environmental variables for where the defaults are. And then, so again, going back to the contexts and finishing up on that, we're always going to be passing stuff in. Is that true? I don't think so. But let's just clean this up slightly for now. Maybe we still should say the theme's optional because I haven't yet moved the default out. Let's see here. No optional theme. That's going to be after we move the defaults out here. Then we can get rid of optionals. So let's update our notes. And for now, let's go back to the type that I said could be not optional. Let's keep that optional for now, just so that our session context can still session context state, which is a hook. There we go. That's why I was looking for that. This is okay now. So ideally, we don't want it to be undefined, but I think what should be happening is the default theme should be getting passed in to the session context state. Or no, it should be reading that from the session that we haven't yet created. The session that you save. So let's just focus. So for now, this was just focusing on initial state. We move the initial state out there, we move the initial state out here, and we put them in a file. I'm happy with that. So let's stage those 3 files. Oops, I didn't expect it to stage that one. Let's unstage this one. Here we go. We'll do these. So what did I word that as in this one? I just called it create initial context states. Yeah, let's say extracted initial context states. Extracted or abstracted? It's not abstracted, it's just moved it somewhere else. So extracted initial context states, perfectly reasonable way to word that. And also we added the editor config. Added editor config to recommended extensions. There we go. Like so. So we did 2 little nice commits there. And yeah, so now we've moved our initial states out, and I didn't want to jump ahead with about the defaults and stuff, so I stopped at that. And let's move on to our next refactor, which is, how long are we into this thing already? 1 hour and 20 already, wow. Time flies. Move initializing of context values into use context state hooks. Initializing of context values. What do I mean here? Process context. Right, I wanted it to be get startup processes, or this seems like, let's do the default thing first. That's like a task for another piece, I think. Yeah, I got ahead of myself with that one. Let's do the defaults first. So move the defaults from pages components into apps. Yes. Oh, that won't help us with the theme, actually. Let's leave that to the end. I don't know how to resolve the theme thing right now because I don't know where our default theme is going to live. Let's say default theme and name/meta. Oh yeah, that's what I'm working with here. This actually might be the right place for that. So let's get into it. I want to move the defaults. I'll show you which ones I'm talking about here. Within components, within pages, we have our metadata, which has some defaults here, and we have our styled app, which has some defaults. I want those defaults at least to be moved out a step. So where's styled app being used? It's being used within the app. So I think what I'd like in this case is to say the styled app theme equals, and then go themes dot, oops, what was it? Themes dot default? Yeah, themes dot default. There we go. And now our styled app accepts a component. So now I have to say it's the, and it's again, it's the same scenario where it's only one prop, sorry, not component. It's only one prop. So I'm thinking of just declaring it here. That's a slippery slope because then it's like we haven't extracted every type. So, that's a slippery slope, guys. Let's just do it for now. And then if later on we decide to extract all types, then we can find these based on searching for arrow and then object. So all we need is theme, and it's going to be based on the default theme. That's its type. And then we are going to use it here. And that doesn't make so much sense calling it that then. Did I have the idea to call it current theme? Yeah, I was thinking of doing that because you actually can change it. It's not like saying this will be the theme forever. So we could just say current theme. I think that makes more sense maybe. It's debatable, but if we say theme, it maybe sounds a little more permanent. So, and also it makes it easier for our naming here. Because if it's current theme, then I can just say current theme and I don't have to worry about theme and shadowing variables or none of that. So we'll use current theme here. So current theme is getting passed in though. So now it's not being used here. So for now, we're going to pull it up to here into the app. Oh, it doesn't like where I put it. Of course it doesn't. Remove me, or put move to environment. I was thinking about this, and the idea that I wanted behind it was that I need to make the components more generic and more dumb. Because right now the component, like this one, it knew this is supposed to be about a styled app, but it knew about my theme, my JSON theme. Whereas now, the way this is right now, I think anyone could use this. I mean, assuming you have a global style, I mean, you need to modify the most minor things about where the paths are, but nothing about the logic as far as what the default should be. Although that's just a path too. It's debatable, I guess. You could argue that this is still very specific to me, to our app. But I like something about the component doesn't know about its default because it's being passed to default. And then we move the default, just keep moving it up, and then eventually into the environment file, I'm thinking. And it makes sense having it in the environment file because maybe you want on a certain environment to have a certain theme or a different name or a different description. So we've extracted the theme out there. What's it complaining about now? Ah, yes, type. There we go. So there, and it's probably going to want to prettier that because that looks like it's too long now. So I'm going to run prettier. Again, we've discussed that I should just do it on save, and instead I do it manually just to be silly. But I have control over that, you know? So this looks pretty nice. I like this. This is just, yeah, it's passing the children in. It's getting the current theme. But it assumes you need it. It's not optional. So if I remove this, it's going to complain. Yeah. So if anyone wants to use my styled app component, you have to specify a theme. That's fair. So we've moved out the styled app one, and then let's do the same for metadata. The metadata doesn't need to know that I'm getting stuff from package.json. That can be done here. Oops. What's it complaining about now? It doesn't like the position I put it in, I guess. Oh, don't remove it. It's wanted me to remove it, yeah. First things first, we have to move this here. So, oh, this is also nice too, is that we don't have to rename those imports anymore. We can just do like that. Got another person on here, Aditya Rao. Hey, hi there. Thanks for joining the stream. Glad to have everybody here. The more the merrier. So there we go. So we've also exported this a little nicer, or imported it, sorry, because now we don't have to worry about the shadowing because we were using description here as well. So I was already allowing props to be passed, unlike the styled app, but I just wasn't using it. But let's use it. Because like I said, I like the defaults showing here for now. So that's like that, that's like that. And why is it complaining? I think we've done it, but it's complaining. So let's just see why. Fix the sorting there. What's the problem with name? Property name, oh, did I fix this? Maybe I didn't clean this up yet. Oh, it's title, right. So why was I even renaming name? I could have just left that the way it was. There we go. That looks better. I think that's cleaner. And just like that. Oh, okay, so back to the slippery slope. I see I did export the type here. Yeah, let's not start a dangerous precedence. Let's go back to that other component and let's not do this. Let's not have types that are just all willy-nilly. Every type needs to be in the same place because eventually I want to get DTS lint working again and start linting our types again properly. So I can't do that, guys. Why didn't someone tell me not to do that? So this is the styled app props, like so. We'll put those right there. Probably not going to help this be a one-liner, I don't think. It might though. Even cleaner when it makes something a one-liner that wasn't. Yeah, now it is. Less than 80 lines. Okay, so that's better. So now where does this have to live? I don't think I have a file for this yet. Types, components, yeah. Right now I just had the metadata one, which is called metadata, and this one's going to be called styled app then. So styled app.ts. And we'll put the type in there. That's not the type. Here's the type. Give it tell it to export that. And we have to import default theme, which no longer needs to be known on this file. Like so. Get rid of all the gibberish I've added. Import this. Import it as a type. And there we go. So now we see our styled app. Yeah, it has the props, the current theme, which it's using as default here. That's pretty nice. I wonder if this is silly to be like, we're using it here and then we're setting it as the default. Maybe I should just do like that. Although, didn't we just decide that this is never undefined? Oh, right, but it's a mock. It's going to be mocked up. Yeah. Okay, so that should make sense. Something about that I don't like. This is probably a little cleaner. It's more to the point anyways. Yeah, I like that. But I don't think this would ever be undefined is my confusion. Because if I'm mocking it up, it's going to use that mocked up one, and then it's not going to do this. So that could be a problem. Maybe theme should be optional, honestly. But then it shouldn't be in the mock data, I guess. Yeah, maybe theme should be optional because we have a default. If the session doesn't have a theme, yeah. I think that makes more sense. See, sometimes you have to just walk away from it for a while. So this is fine to the point of actually not even needing this. We can return a session context state in which there is no theme. Yes, because it's optional. And that should be fine. And then in our initial state for it, which was in the utils initial states, we don't need to mock up the theme, which is nice. So we don't need to worry about the initial, but we might need to put something else in here eventually, you know, like the windows, maybe that will always be there. Like this would be to keep track of, say, this whatever the session cares about in regards to windows, like their position or something. But for now, the session state only cares about theme, and we don't care to put theme in there by default. We're okay for theme to be empty by default because the styled app is going to have a default that it'll put into the theme provider. Yes, that all makes sense. And that actually fits with what I had here. So no optional is incorrect. Allow optional. I shouldn't have put that as the notes then. So yeah, that looks pretty good. And would this actually be theme then? I guess it would, hey? Because it's gonna, yeah, so now we are explicitly setting it here. So we no longer say current theme because it wasn't anything before. I'm confusing myself with that, I think. Current theme is fine for now until I think of a better name for it. Could spend all day naming variables. So what have we done so far? Let's double check. Right, so we've made this a lot simpler by passing. You have to pass data to it, you know? Same with this one. You have to pass data, and the session might change. Yeah, at some point you will set the session, and that is the mechanism that will be used to update the theme. That makes sense. So it'll be undefined on load, and it'll use current, but then as soon as session consumer updates because you've changed the theme, then theme will be set. It won't use the default, and it'll work. That's my thinking on that. So now session can be empty. Now we're passing the stuff into the app. So I haven't yet moved this up into environmental variables. I'm going to do that before we commit this, but I just wanted to double check that everything else makes sense. And it looks like it does. I don't see anything complaining. So yeah, I did not provide a link to myself. Metadata props no longer optional. Ah, yes. That's another note. The metadata props, I put these as optional. These are not optional now. That's expected. Same with here. If you're going to load the styled app, you need to pass a theme. You need to give me a description. You need to give me a title. And just to make sure that I haven't broken anything, we can do a build. Because the build is like the end all way where if everything still kind of can come together, then you know that it's probably still working. The build is probably one of the most ways you can be assured of that. It's not a certainty though. All right, environmental variables Next.js. Now let's look it up because I don't remember, but it's in that file I was telling you guys about. Looks like the stream's been good. I haven't seen any dips at all. If I look at stream health, yeah. I might have to up the bitrate next time, guys. Try to get a little higher quality. So environmental variables, Next.js has a way where you can use them. Now it talks about an environmental local file. It has a built-in support for loading environmental variables from env.local into process.env. Do I prefer that? I don't think so because that's not as dynamic. There could be some use for that. Maybe you can load it from multiple sources. That'd be cool. Because the source that I want to load it from is actually a different place. Let's see if they talk about it here. Exposing environmental variables to the browser. Yeah, that's actually what I care about. So what does it say here? By default, all environmental variables loaded through are only, oh, okay. So even better. Yeah, I think that's part of the reason I didn't use this is not only is it not dynamic, but it's only in the Node.js side of things on the server side. So what we want is, let's just keep scrolling until it just tells me. It It's supposed to be inside the config file, I think. Let's see if they talk about it here. Here we go. Oh yeah, Next.js, yeah. Did that, I'm assuming somewhere on that page it probably told us how to get to this page. I didn't see it, but maybe these pages could be combined, honestly. It looks like the same exact page, almost. Same exact title, but different information about a different thing. This is the one we want to do. This will allow us to have it in the browser. So it's as simple as this, basically. So if we go back to the code, we see in our config file, which we have somewhere. Where is it? Here it is. Here it is. And it was env, so let's put it above the R. Don't need our trailing commas. So right, just like that, you'd have a custom key. And if we go back to the browser, how in that example is it used? Okay, very simple, just like that. So in our scenario here, where was the file where we used it? It was in the app. What we would do is just change these to be like description, name. Why am I doing this? This is silly. Just do this like that, and I guess just theme here, like that, and we'll do the other action there of oops, was it themes was how it was, and we'll keep that piece. So we can cut these pieces out to bring those over to that environmental file, and let's try that and let's see. And just what was it complaining about here? What was this issue? Oh, okay. So now it doesn't know that the process environment necessarily is there. It says it could be undefined. That's intriguing. Well, maybe if I just specify it, maybe then it'll know. That'd be cool. I'm being pretty hopeful to expect that. So what we can do here actually is we can just export these like that. That's the ES6 method, where if you just say the variable is called description, then the key will be description as well. The only one we have to care about here is the one that's theme, which comes from themes default. Okay, so that's right there. I can get rid of these comments here. So that's cool for the config, but did it fix this? No, it did not. So, that's tricky. I guess what we can do here, this is messy. I don't like the idea of doing that. I wonder if we try to make the variables safe, does that in any way help the error? No, I wouldn't expect that it would. Well, honestly, the error is reasonable. Let's do a quick peek on Google and see if anyone's had this issue. Let's say Next.js, TypeScript, process environment. And let's see if anyone's had an issue with that. Maybe even in here they talked about it. Oh, this is back to that one. Let's see if they talked about it here. TypeScript? No, not in reference to this. And if we peek here, runtime configuration, type checking a process, here we go. A Reddit post. Oh, that's how you know it'll be good. Does anyone have a good suggestion? Oh, I'm not logged in here, so it's just complaining. I'm doing this in my app. Import everything as T. Oh, this is like beyond what I wanted in a bad way. That's just not the right information. Let's try one more here and just see. Sometimes you get luck. So when you run this, blah, blah, blah. That also is not really what I was looking for. Maybe I should have been more specific and put the word undefined. Type checking a process, blah, blah, blah. Oh, this is back to the same thing. That's not really what I wanted. Well, actually part of it is. Let's just see where he dug into that. Where did he say? What I mean is that how do I get rid of this? In var. That's exactly what I wanted. Okay, let's dig in a little bit. Verification, sanitation, and type coercion for environment variables in Node.js and web applications. I mean, that sounds like what we want, but do I need to add this? Is that... Boy, that just seems like an unnecessary addition. You know what? Let's just have this pattern when we're checking for process environment variables. We're going to do this. This is the new JavaScript syntax to make sure that make sure process exists, make sure environment exists, make sure name exists. And if all that doesn't work out, then you just give me an empty string. Okay. And in this scenario, it'd be, oh, it's not going to like that. Yeah, because it's not a default theme. You want me to mock up the theme? No. So that's not an ideal approach either. What if we do this guy's approach? But I think eventually I'm going to have to remove that because I don't like it. So So what was, oh, I'm sorry guys, I didn't switch to the code again. I do that sometimes. It didn't work the way I wanted anyways. Let's just do this guy's approach and let's just see. So what'd he do here? Is he suggesting just import it like that and then it's pretty cool. It does add a lot of stuff. Inv.get. Boy, should I really need that? How much bulk does this add? What does he say here? 4.7 kilobytes? To do what? Just because I tried to change my default structure? Yeah, this is going deep, guys. I don't know. There's probably a better way to deal with this because I thought it'd be cool to have that. How about for now, what we'll do until I can solve this is I'm just going to do... I'm just not going to use environmental variables for now until I can think of a way to solve that. Maybe we can add it to the project board. Here we go. At this point, it was working. No, I'd already... At what point had I not messed everything up? There we go. Get this, remove these comments. This is the classic undoing of stuff that you're not happy with. There we go. So that's back to how it was before. So what have we done minus the process environment variable thing? That's for another episode, I guess. Let's make a quick project board. How quickly can we add crap to the project board? Pretty slow, and I don't know where I am here. Projects, P2, and what was it I wanted to do? Oh yes, move defaults into envvars. Fix TS. There we go. Nice, we got a little note there. Add it to the pile. So what have we done here that's reasonable? So right, we removed the defaults. I think we've gone over this one already then. So we ended up not doing the environmental, we got rid of the default optional there. And yeah, so let's just call that refactored page component defaults. So the final goal of what we did was that now when we go to the app, we see all the defaults are here, and this component don't have any secret information. If you dig into them, there's nothing more than whatever you pass them, not including the global style, I guess. Which, yeah, I guess you could pass in the global style to make the component even more generic, but I don't want to go too far. These are the defaults that we care about. You know, the global style is like, you're always going to have one of those. So we've done it, and we've refactored page components defaults. Let's commit that. I'm proud enough of that. Man, I think after these refactors, I don't know how our time is going to be. I had a ton of refactors listed here. What's the next one? Move initialization of context values. Yeah, see this one, let's not do that one today. What did I was like dreaming big with this. I think my idea here, I think my concern is around the process context and the fact that we're still using the full process directory. I wanted to have like startup apps, and I just don't right now. But I think we probably should. It's probably a good next step, because if we're going to have a wallpaper and a taskbar, those I want to start up, but I don't want the Hello World app to start up anymore. So let's do that. Let's turn this into a function. And what did I call it? Because I like the name that I gave it. Get startup processes. Yeah, that's reasonable. So get startup processes, and we no longer need process directory here. And we're going to probably export that from the same place here, from the process directory, which we're going to no longer have a default for. So let's go into the process directory again. And what was the name of that? Yeah, it's going to be a function, and it's going to return some stuff. It's going to return the processes, right? Oops, that's not how to write that. It's going to return processes. That's still, yeah, that's the way to write that, I think. That seems better. Now we want to export these. No more default export. Like so. Add a little semi there. And yes, we need to return something. So what we're going to do is we're just going to filter this. We don't even need a function here. I mean, we're just going to return the first thing we do. So we're going to take the process directory, and we're going to filter. Does that make sense? No, we need to do the exact same thing we were doing within the, what is it called again? The process context here. No, within the process loader. Because the processes are not an array, they are an object. So we need to do this same thing if we're going to be, if we're going to be mapping over it. Oh, wait a minute though. So we're going to be doing that, and then at the same time, that's not the most ideal approach because the processes are an object. I want to push keys into it. Let's just make this a function and see how complex it has to be to start. So like I said, we need to do this through the process directory, and then we filter. But if we filter, it's gonna eventually give us an array, so we don't actually want that. We probably want to do a map. No, even a map's gonna give us an array. We want a key at the end. That's the problem. So I'm trying to think how to start with an object and end with an object. I guess we could remove entries from the process directory. I hadn't thought out how we would do this exactly, but I want to just do it a dumb way for now, and then we'll just refactor another day. Just can't do everything the perfect way the first time, which is kind of proven by the fact that I'm refactoring all the time. So now we're going through the processes. There's only going to be this one. And what we're going to do is we're going to have that system flag that I was talking about, I think. Or I'm trying to think where it makes sense to have startup. Either we're going to have startup flags in the processes. I don't think that makes sense. Maybe for now we'll just have an array of startup processes. And it's going to be an array of the IDs. So in this case, just hello world, let's say. And what we're going to do here, we're going through the processes. So if the processes dot, oh, actually we just want the keys. Oh, maybe because it's just keys. I feel like this has to be really easy to just get the keys we care about. There's got to be some nice way to do that. Like, what kind of things do we have? We don't have many things we can loop over here, but we just want keys. If we just want keys, can't we just make an array, an object? Let's go through this. What if we just loop through this? But we don't want an array. We do not want an array. We want an object in the end. Oh, maybe we could use reduce for that, actually. Yeah, when in doubt, reduce. So let's say we want to reduce. We have the accumulator, which is going to be the object, and we have the ID, process ID, which I won't say the word process ID, but it's just the ID. And basically all we have to do then is, and then we have to say that the accumulator is an object to start with. And then we just say accumulator ID equals process directory ID. This seems weird the way I'm doing this. Like is this all it is? And I have to return it, hey? Is there a cleaner way to do that? I don't know. So that's just doing the reduce there. Let's see if that gets us the approach we wanted. Oh no, I meant to copy and there we go. Classic undo redo scenario. There we go. So what's it complaining about already? Because I didn't initialize this or something, implicitly has a type any. Oh, it's complaining about the types. Gotta clean these up. Well, what's the accumulator? It's just an object. I literally just wrote code like this. That was the most elegant way I found. Oh, nice. You could do spread or object assign as well. Oh yeah, that's true. I love spreading. Let's try to do spread then. Yeah, that's not going to help my type definition problem probably. But oh yeah, I prefer that because I don't like doing the returns. And I know there's some inefficiencies there in doing spread over and over again, but probably in this scenario, it's not such a big deal. So we want to dump the accumulator plus the ID, which is going to be that. We can just straight up return the object. And we don't need that, and that is a colon. Oh, did that even fix the type scenario? Maybe it did. Hey, if it did, I don't care. Maybe because it doesn't need to know? Oh no, because now it's somehow smarter, basically. I guess before I had it written in a stupid where because I was trying to access the object in advance. So even better. Thank you, Daniel. I don't know if I mentioned, Daniel just wrote that he literally had to do the exact same thing. So I'm glad that I came to this. I managed to come to that conclusion in a reasonable amount of time because I hadn't completely thought it out. This looks clean then. I didn't have to turn it into a function or like this kind of function, you know, where you start having to return something. I had these, this is my preference. If you're going to be returning something and you can do it on one line, that's great. All this talk, I don't even know if this works. Export const does not contain a default export. Oh yeah, I have to fix this too. Oh, there we go. So now if that worked, let's mess up the array here. And hello world should have disappeared. It didn't. I don't know if I reload here. The element is invalid. Oh, okay. That's probably fair. Let me just see if I fix this back. Okay, and then it's fine, yeah. So I guess that works. Let's make this empty instead and see if it's less... why does it complain about that? Variable startup implicitly has type any in some locations where its type cannot be determined. Okay. Well, it's supposed to be a string array. I guess because it's empty, it wasn't able to implicitly understand it, but let's just do that. So now we've cleared it. So now if I do reload, there we go. Good. So now the app didn't load, and if you view the source, it'll be missing. And if we just put the app back in here, so now anything we put in this array that's part of this process thing will be loaded. So now if we say we want to load the hello world, and it seems like it doesn't remember this. Like you have to press refresh on the page instead of just saving. But we're not going to change this too often, so we just have to remember that. So now if I press reload, there you go, the app's back. So cool. So now we have a way to get startup processes. And it kind of makes it a little bit clearer here within the process loader or within the process provider what's going on. Let's prettier-ify this first of all, because it's not pretty enough for my liking. There we go. And hopefully it didn't change nothing else. Yeah, good. Okay, cool. So now we see in the process context provider, you go use process context state, and what's the default? It gets the startup processes. So it's a self-explaining code. And then if we go into here, they call it the startup processes, so that's fair. I could call it initial processes here, but I don't think that makes sense. Now I wonder if there's an argument for putting get startup processes here instead of here. I mean, does it matter? I kind of like pulling up that stuff as high as possible, and then that way, maybe we could even move the default up. Where is process provider? Is that also an app? Or no, that's an index. It could make sense to do it here, actually. I like that was something I was thinking of, actually, was try to move all of that stuff up to the Next.js pages. So all of the defaults and that kind of stuff is there, the initial state stuff. So maybe it's cool to have process provider and then have like current processes. Is that the same logic I used for the other one? Current? Yeah, we got current theme. Current, it should just be called startup processes though, I think. Otherwise it sounds silly. So in this case, we'll call it startup processes, and we'll just get it like that. I like that. So the process provider has startup processes and it goes get startup processes. So we'll move that into the index. That's one less thing for the processes context to worry about. It just worry about context, dude. So now we have to make another thing. We got to make a process provider props. Like so. What did I say I was going to have in it? Startup processes. So the startup process is there. It's just another one of the processes. Processi. That's probably not the right word for it. And I'm just going to keep copy pasting the same thing until I'm done with it. That goes there. This goes here. So there we go. So now it's the startup processes are passed into the provider. And what is it complaining about now? Process provider is assigned a value but never used. What? Oh, I see, because I reassigned it here. Tricky me. I didn't even call that props, but I called this props. That's confusing. Okay, cool. And we want to move that into here with the other stuff. So let's, oh wait, is that what we're going to move that? Yeah, I think so. So that just goes here. And that's that. So we moved that into processes as well. I like that they've all managed to fit there. That's nice. So the process provider props gets the startup processes. And now we have to import that. Now we don't need that here. And we got to run prettier again because we've changed it up again here. Run prettier again, and then I'm going to do a refresh. Everything's saved, and then I do a reload of hello world. Cool, so it still works. So now we've moved it up one layer further, essentially. So now the process provider does very little, honestly. It's getting a little big in lines just because these words are so long that everything has to fit on a new line. But what it's actually doing is very little, and you can see that it all fits on one page, so it's all digestible mentally if you just look at it. So yeah, the use processes context state gets the startup processes, which are passed to it up above from there. And is the process loader passed anything of relevance? No, it gets it from the consumer. And that keeps updating. That makes sense. Okay. So we've refactored the startup processes. I don't think I want to do the other one right now, the session one. That's for another day because I just don't know where to go with that. And we don't even pass anything right now with session. Oops, if we go to where is it here? That was in types again. If we go to the context session, yeah, we're currently not even passing anything. So at some point, maybe we'll pass something. I mean, I almost wonder if that makes sense to pass stuff here. I guess it's nice to be able to put it here, but you could also argue that the process provider inherently should be checking for startup processes from here instead of being like, oh, let's move this little logic into the index page. It could just be part of the process provider. But I guess this gives you cool control too, in that now you could change what are the initial processes from within the index. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but you can. It's outside the provider, I guess. I guess it's the idea that we have less things to think about within the provider. It's not that, oh, it's a context provider and it's getting startup processes. No, it's just pass it. It's like a flow of information. So that makes a bit more sense there. And then, yeah, I didn't want to do the session one. So let's just be happy with that one then. And let's just see what we've done again. Let's check our changes. So yeah, we got the startup process where are they here? Yeah, startup processes, when we got the props for it. Yeah, basically that's all we did here, right? I'm thinking we did more. We didn't do more. We added the type. Ah, yes, right, this function. Yeah, that was the difficult part. Was this function here. Cool, looks really nice. And now this is nicer. And now that we have this, once we get the wallpaper, then we can get this app out of here without having to nuke it from the directory or comment it out or something. So it gives us that nice little bit too. So we created startup processes function. Get start processes function. Created get startup processes function. Yeah, I mean, we did more there a little bit, but I mean, we didn't really. We utilized what we created. I'm just going to assume that that's assumed. I'm going to push these 4 commits just arbitrarily, why not? So I did. Okay, cool. So where did that get us? Let's move this again here. We're still doing some refactors here. So we've done that one. This was a cool little refactor, and now we got some links we can check out. So in regards to Next.js, it has something here, search engine optimization. It has, sorry, that's not what it has. This is the internationalized routing page, and this is something new to 10 that they added. And 10's pretty recent. 10 is before I started making it. So if you guys remember in the HTML, I had a solution for the language. Lang, where is it here? It was within the document. I had made a custom document with all this garbage just to get lang en. Now, since then, Next 10 has come out, and it turns out that within their internationalization and their routing, they've actually built in a way to update that lang field. And we're not going to get deep into the I-18 routing and that kind of stuff right now, but I do want to get into it, and we might get into it pretty soon, because that's another step that I kind of have skipped for now. Like the Cypress integrated testing, I also don't have the internationalization that I'd like. I mean, even for Hello World, that could be a Bonjour Mundo. I don't know, Hola Mundo, I guess, is Spanish. I could have that, but not with my current setup where the strings aren't translated. So yeah, long story short, on the I-18N, I noticed just looking through the documentation, as I tend to do, reading documentation, that since Next.js knows what language the user is visiting, it will automatically add the lang attribute to HTML. Great. That can save us a lot of time, I think, and a lot of code that we had written that we don't need. So if we, and in reference to the code that we writ that we do not need, I want to show you guys, oops, I didn't want to jump. I just wanted to show you another URL here. This is the document. And if you guys remember the custom document. So here's the piece, we took all that just so that we could mess with the HTML. But if you look here, the custom document doesn't need to have any of that. At a minimum, it needs to have this piece here, the get initial props thing. And we've already cut that down. If you guys remember, we've already cut that down a lot by extracting out the with server style sheet stuff. So now we can get rid of all this stuff, which is quite nice. We don't need this little render piece. So let's do that. Let's get rid of this. And as you see here, there's a lot of stuff we didn't need now. So we've just made the code a heck of a lot simpler. And now at the moment we've lost that lang field. And if I go into the inspect here, can you guys, no, you can't see it. But if I go into view source, I can assure you that I've now lost lang from my HTML. And I'll show you guys, let's just show you guys. Let me go view source here and switch over to the browser. So as you can see, there's no lang in there. Dun, 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 where did it go? Because I removed the code. But the code itself still functions. So now we have a much smaller custom document. And now all we have to do to achieve what we had before is to follow those directions that I just walked away from here, which were here. So how do you do it? All you have to do is add that locale basically to the environment, to our config file. And if you see here, we can see how to set it up. Let's go to the top here just to see the explanation. So there's some ways we can word it too. We can do like en-us or that kind of thing. But as you can see here, that's called the region. And they can do no specific region, which is what we're going to do because that's what we have lang as right now. It's just en. So we're just going to set the locale to be en. So we'll copy here. We only need a little bit of it here. These two things are required, I believe. I've tried without them and it didn't go well. So if we go into our next config file and we add that here like so, like that, get rid of the trailing stuff. So there's the basics we have. And if we go back to the documentation too, there was one other piece that I thought sounded good. See here, you can have subpath routing. So you can do like different paths so that when they do FR, it'll go somewhere else, that kind of thing, which is pretty cool. We're not going to worry about that though, the routing side of it. That's why I'm not sure if we'll use this for any more than this little lang thing. And maybe when it comes to internationalization, we might use something else like a React INTL, it's called, I think, which is from the Format.js people. That's another method, and that might be more what we need for this, but we'll see. And this is a good way to keep track of locales, but I don't know what we'll do with this, to be honest, at the moment. I think we probably will have to update it, even if we do a different I18 approach, because we need this part to leverage updating of lang. So we'll have to make sure this thing knows when we're switching locales. And there's this automatic locale detection. I don't want that for now. I only have one locale, so I'm going to turn that off. I don't think it would make a difference, but it's just wasted resources. So locale detection, alphabetically speaking, I guess this comes first. I mean, you could make the argument that because this is a capital D, it wouldn't come first. I'm not sure. I'm just going to do it that way and ignore capitalization in my alphabetization. So now we got this, and now, like I said, we just want the English one. So we go en. We say this is the list of locales we support, and by default, we want it to be the English one. So we save that. Now we're changing the config file, so right away I'm just going to assume we need to change this, and it even says so in our config, or in our terminal, sorry. So we rerun dev, like so, close that. And now this is updated, so now if I do view source, let's do it again here into the browser for you guys. So if I go here and I press refresh, there we go. So there's our lang. So I feel like that's just a cleaner approach. I mean, if you see, look at all the code, all the red, all the stuff we got rid of, and it's just as simple as that, you know? And that actually fits better because this was just living here. This little English piece was completely isolated. I mean, it had nothing to do with locale really. Whereas now it's in the environment config file and it legitimately has something to do with the locale and the I18N. And we can leverage this I18N, this same information for our next I18N library that is going to deal with strings instead of dealing just purely with routing. I mean, honestly, yeah, it'll work, I think. It'll work. But for now, this is just the best approach anyways, I felt. It just cuts it down. So I don't know if we'll continue to use that Next.js version for every little piece of I18N, but at least this piece. So what did we do? All we did is moved HTML lang logic into config. Yeah. And just simplified the coding and, you know, removing lines. It's always good. It's amazing how many lines I've removed from our Hello World app. I guess it shows I had too many to start with, to be honest. So, okay, cool. So here's another cool thing I saw. This is just a cool approach I saw that I liked in regards to contexts and destructing variables. We'll open both of them here because we're going to need both of them. So something I thought was cool here is this process context. Boy, that's a word that's just all over the place, you know? But when you actually think about it, in this the process context is only ever used here locally in the file, whereas all these other things are used in a few places and exported. So what we can do through destructing is just do something like that, and we can get the consumer and get the provider like so. And I don't know if the spaces are there. And I just feel like for the file, within the context of this file, it just makes it cleaner, honestly. So when you're exporting it, it's called process consumer. But when you're using it here, it's just cleanly provider value, just keep making it shorter, constantly making it shorter. And let's see if that in any way made it easier for Prettier to make less lines out of that. Looks like no, but yeah, that's already quite a short amount of lines. And we'll do the same here. Again, it's only used here, so this is just always trying to just make it a little bit better, 1% better. There we go. So that's a fun little refactor, I think. I don't know if you guys want to use that in the future, but you can use that. It's not patented. So destruct provider and consumer variables. Yeah. Very, very simple, but it's just less words. And because we're only using it there, I think it kind of fits. So we pushed another fix. And then what's left? Yes, move margin and padding resets into this. Oh man. This one took me forever to research. And I'm still not completely done with it, but it gets into this whole bag of stuff like W3C has a good page here, I think, where they talk about it. Here we go. Default browser, default value reference. So this is an interesting thing, and this gets into something called normalization. Or, well, I don't know if it's called normalization. Normalize, CSS reset. It's got a lot of different names. There's a lot of people doing it, like sanitize CSS. These guys are doing it. Normalize, that's the one I was talking about, and that's kind of one of the original, the OG ones. And if you look at it, basically it's just a way to unmess up a lot of CSS and make things more consistent. And I've gone through about 15 of these and looked through them all to kind of see what they do. And a lot of them do a lot of the same stuff. Clearing margins, clearing this, clearing that. There's some stuff I'm not going to mess with, like making the line heights consistent and stuff. It might be worth doing that at some point, but I'm not going to add a bunch of CSS just because I think it might be relevant still. So we're going to deal with that as it comes. And if somebody using IE9 wants to complain to me, first things first, we only support IE11 and up. That's kind of what we've decided, I think. That's what Next.js says. That fits with our styled components as well. So that's what that is. So there's a million rules here. And what I was showing here is the fact that elements have default values. So for example, here's an easy one that is a duh, is like an H1 is more bold than an H2, and these are their values essentially. And I don't know if this is a perfectly complete list. I'd much prefer to go look at an MDN article, but I couldn't find the specific one. These W3 School guys are okay, but at the same time, there's nothing legitimate about them that I know of. I don't know. They're not like JS. They're not associated with anything JavaScript that I've heard of. They just have some cool information. This is CSS anyways, but so there's just all these defaults that I want to clear. Some of the more insidious ones are, which ones? Like OL. This is something I'm going to reset when we get into the taskbar, because the taskbar is an ordered list, an organized list. But when you do that, by default, you get these stupid list style types where you get like a 1, 2, 3 in the case of organized list. Probably makes sense because if you have an organized list, by default, it numbers it. Fair. But we don't want that. I'm only using the organized list from a semantic purpose because it is organized. But I don't need to represent to the user 1, 2, 3. They're going to be represented in that they're in the order in which they were loaded, because that's how it works in Windows. Just as you can see, though, there's a ton of defaults here. And if we go into mine, basically what I wanted to do is I wanted to just make it a little more simple, a little fewer selectors as well. And if you notice our Hello World app, you notice at the top how there's padding, right? That's coming from a margin that's on the H1. I don't want that. So I want to nuke all margins, all padding to start. And it's in the global. So you see here, right now it's just focused on HTML body. What actually got me started to thinking about this was when I saw that HTML had CSS attributes, and I started thinking, like, does it even make sense to have those? I don't know. So So we're not going to have those, and we're going to do this, and we're just going to move those into here, and we're just going to say everything doesn't have margins. And this gets into some other ones that we might want to do. Another one I might want to do that I'm going to do is border. And I guess alphabetically, border is going to have to be above box sizing here. So border. So some stuff has border, I believe. If we go back to the default values here and we search for border. Yeah, field set. I have no intention of using a field set, but this is just part of me resetting everything. I just like the reset. Same with outline. Actually, nobody is using outline. Outline's always none, it seems. But it's another one I just want to empty. Is outline supposed to be numerical? I think so, but they got none here. I guess I could do none for border then, too. I'm going to stick to 0 because it looks nicer. So, LMNO, outline. So there we go. So that's just a reset that I want to do to kind of start on a level playing field, hopefully. And that's kind of what I've suggested doing here anyways. Some things to note too that are tricky and that we might have to add. Like I started looking at stuff. Did I mention it here? Oh, I have a note for it, but let's just bring it up here. Is like, here's another CSS gotcha that's really tricky. So main. When we get to the wallpaper, I'm actually gonna make a desktop component. That's essentially, I'm not sure if it's gonna be a container element yet. I guess it's not. Have I decided if I was gonna use a desktop component? I don't know if I had decided. Let's say I have wallpaper, desktop, whatever I end up using. I was gonna use the main element, which is a semantic HTML element, just because it just seemed to be the most relevant to this. But if you scroll way down to the bottom, you see here that Internet Explorer doesn't even support it, even though we say we support IE11. So for IE11, it suggests we do an ARIA role of main. I might do that, sure. But I was looking through normalize, and that's where I noticed it here, is that they have the same thing here, render the main element consistently in IE. So it's not displayed properly, essentially. And I don't know if my old code in IE11 looked wrong. I don't think it did, but it's something to keep in mind. And it's something to keep in mind in general, that when you're looking through these MDN articles, sometimes right at the bottom, there's these little gotchas that you kind of have to go, oh, okay. Oh, sorry, I wasn't at the browser. At the bottom here, like below the browser compatibility, there'll be little sneaky stuff here. So something to keep in mind, definitely. But back to what we were doing, which was just resetting the CSS a bit. So yeah, this is a little bit better reset, and I haven't pressed save yet because I wanted to mention to you guys. So you see when I press save, watch Hello World. If I press save, oh, it went up. So now we've reset more borders, you know? So now the H1 in the title is no longer giving a margin, I believe. And we might want to go back in later to the styled component title here and add a margin, you know, margin 15 pixels and save that. And there we go. Now we have a little bit of a margin here at the top, as you see. It looks like the default was like, I don't know, like 50 or something. What was it? Yeah, it looked closer to that. But you see now how we reset everything first, and then we start from a blank slate is my hope. And that's the idea of the CSS reset. The parts that you don't like, there's so many different CSS resets because there's people that have opinionated ones a lot of the time. Like Safari does it this way, they do it this way. So to make it consistent, we're all going to pick this version, you know? There's a lot of that within the resets. That's why I didn't want to do too much of that, and I've just focused on zeroing out some of these obvious ones that are going to actually stylistically affect things. And this might actually still be a problem in certain scenarios. Like I think if you focus on an item, it also has it. And in that case, you might have to do like focus as another selector. I don't think so. I mean, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But I think it was something I remember where I tried to focus and the same issue came up. So yeah, everything's going good so far, I think, on the stream. And oh man, I think we're actually finally done the refactoring. The last one we did, yeah, is made global or more global CSS resetting. There we go. And with that final refactor, I think I'm going to do another push. I'm going to finish my Red Bull. That was pretty much empty already. And we can move on to the next two. So this is all we really have left for tonight. And I don't know if we're going to get to the taskbar now. I'm starting to question it because we're already 2 hours and 11 minutes in. Jesus. But I'd like to get to the desktop because I think it's time for us to have a wallpaper. So getting back to the desktop, the reason I was thinking of a desktop component is it just seemed weird to me to just dump in a wallpaper. I like the idea of having the main because then we can kind of wrap everything. But I hadn't decided how I would do it. I'm wondering if maybe the desktop has to be the one piece that is not dynamically loaded. Because, I mean, that might make sense anyways. The first thing you're going to see is the desktop, the wallpaper. That's how it is with Windows. So let's not even have that be part of the startup process because that's going to be the container for everything if we think that way. So let's take a step back and see where that's going to slot in. It wouldn't be at the app level. It'd be at the index level, I believe. It could probably be here within the process loader, I guess, right? Why not? We say the desktop is where so the process loader dumps everything into the desktop, be it a taskbar, be it the desktop icons, be it the windows. I think I like that, yeah. And I think it's probably not too silly to think of it that way. I mean, there's some trickiness to that. I don't know where the wallpaper comes from because that's true. In Task Manager, you can delete Explorer, you can close Explorer and the taskbar goes away and the icons go away, but the wallpaper doesn't go away. So that's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, I don't know how via the Windows Task Manager you could kill something that would make the wallpaper disappear. Pretty much impossible as far as I know. I mean, without just killing the whole operating system and making it reset. So I think that fits with our logic here. So now let's say we have a desktop. Cool. So we need to make it components, system, desktop.tsx. And let's give it let's call it let's make a function for it already because it's going to be another functional component, right? Just like so, make the nice little elegant functional component and we'll export it the way I like to do it, which is down below. So we've got the basics there. We'll import the functional component type, switch its import to a type. And we got the basics there. So now, like I was saying, we want to use a main. I don't know about this role. I guess it doesn't hurt. I don't have a problem with having an ARIA role here. And if it thinks it's going to help, great. Do I want to go test it with IE11? Maybe. Let's do that, actually. Let's do that to see if we need the CSS. So let's dump it in here without the ARIA role to start. Just comment it out here. And let's just have the word hello in there. And this desktop is going to have a styled desktop, I believe. I'm trying to think if it will, though. Yeah, it needs to have a styled desktop, I think. And that would be the main element. Because the element itself needs to be large enough. It needs to be large enough so that when we pass it to the library that loads canvases onto components, the canvas is already the size we expect it to be. So the styled, yeah, we're going to have a styled thing right away. Styled desktop, and it's going to be styled.main. I think that's how you write that. I'm new to styled components, so I don't even know if I wrote that right, but it feels right. So what did we want for it? This gets tricky. What did I put any comments here as to what I want? And this gets into the semantics too. I mean, it doesn't get into the semantics. I skipped talking about that. But back to what I was saying about IE11 and supporting main and all those little caveats is that what I'm trying to use are HTML5 semantic elements. They're new enough. They're not that new though, but they're these kind of semantic elements that are just mostly for semantic purposes to say, this is a nav, this is the footer, this is the main. And they're preferred to use those over divs and spans and stuff like that when you can, because they're more specific. And this is a website called caniuse.com that'll tell you browser support for various things. And as you see here, so HTML5, which we intend to use, is pretty much supported by everything, but there is that caveat with IE11, and it says here, partial support refers to only the main element, added later, being unknown. So we know there's some trickiness there, but let's just try it out. So we need to make that main element. And so, yeah, now something did I mention here about what we want to put in here? I did not. We want to make this element the entire screen. So its height needs to be 100% of the viewport height. and its width needs to be 100% of the view width. I don't know if that's percentages, but I think that's what it's representing there. And we've already got padding and stuff emptied out. Let's look at the old code and what we did in the old code, because oops, that's the old app. I want to check the code. Where would this be? It would be in styles. It would be a system component. It's the desktop. Here we go. So, right, I did like I say there, the VW and the VH, and then I did this with position fixed. So position fixed is absolutely what I wanted. And is that what I had a link for? I had a link to something to talk about it. Yeah, not about position, but position fixed is essentially what we want. It kind of separates it from all the other elements so that it can be put anywhere. I think it's different from position absolute in a couple ways that I'm not going to get into today, but it's just what I want is position fixed, I believe. So position fixed. So we're gonna set it in place. And now there's a bit of contention here around setting 0 to all of these elements. I haven't completely figured out if this makes sense. But basically you can set 0 to all the elements. So 0 to the right, 0 to the left, 0 to bottom, 0 to top. And I think in this scenario where it's supposed to be 100% of the viewport and the way fixed works, I think that it makes sense in this case. Let's alphabetize these because it's complaining about that. Elemental P. Oh wait, what was it complaining about? Was it complaining about alphabetization? Because I have this is a mess. I wish I could autofix because I don't want to think about this. Let's do the alphabet together, guys. A B C D E F G H I J K L M N O P Q R S T U V. There needs to be an autofix button for this. Anyways, now it's more legible, so I like that. So the desktop is going to be the style desktop. And for now, it's just going to have hello in it. Hello. So there's an extremely simple desktop that we've made that essentially uses the main element and styled components. And it should be the entire screen. Now let's set a background color just to start. Actually, this is another thing too. We should have a background color. I don't think I decided on what our background color should be. No, I did not decide on it. So I think for Windows, I think the default is black. I feel like. I might be wrong, which we've decided is zeros. Which we've remembered as zeros. Okay, so let's save that and see what that does for the app. So, oh, we have to save this too. Oh, we have to import desktop. Oh, we gotta do a million things. Right. And as someone told me last time, the reason that this import doesn't work that I didn't understand before is the default imports obviously don't know what they're called. Because you can call them whatever you want. So, very sensible, but I didn't think about that for some reason until someone mentioned it to me. There we go, we got that imported. Clean that up. So that's that. There we go, we got a black, we got their desktop. And if we were to say 99% of the view height and set these to like 1111 or something, let's see what that looks like, just to make sure we're in the right. Yeah, I think that was kind of, I don't know what that proved, honestly. I just wanted to make sure it was changing the way we expected. I mean, you can inspect it and I can see when I hover, if I hover over main, yeah, you can see there how it turns blue as I hover over the DOM element main. So that's working as expected. Now, as far as Internet Explorer, do I even have Internet Explorer? I actually do have Internet Explorer. Oh, when I open Internet Explorer, it opens Edge. That's gross. It like opens it as a suggestion. I don't think this is IE 11 though. I don't know what version of IE this is. Let's just quickly test it. I'm sorry, I don't have a screen share for this, but I'll tell you guys it worked. So it's black, it's full screen. I don't know what version of IE this is. There's some kind of compatibility view that you can do. I wonder if I can set it. Oh, it's already set as IE 11. If I set it as IE 10, even IE 10 works. I wonder if this is styled components, just knowing how to fix things. It's another amazing thing with styled components, actually, that it's like really smart at that kind of stuff. But no, I don't see a fix to display like Normalize had. So I don't know why, but it works in IE. So I'm not going to question it. Maybe under some scenario it doesn't, but let's not worry about it. So we just got main here and we don't need to worry about a role. We don't need to worry about changing the display. So let's do some extraction now here. Now we need to move our styled components into styles, right? So styles, components, system, yep. And now we got desktop. And we're going to take our styled component along with this little piece and just drop it in there. And we're going to export it as the default. I almost wonder if we should use named exports instead of defaults. I mean, it's easier to do auto imports is my advantage. Import style desktop from styles dash components dash system dash desktop. That's a mouthful. So there's the basic desktop. Oh, I haven't saved this yet. There we go. Oh, and probably the word desktop's in here somewhere. Oh yeah, the word hello, I mean, right. I wrote the word hello. So we don't need that. What we actually want, because we're passing in things here, is we want the children thing in there. So we just want our children in here for now. And the goal with this desktop, now that we have that element, is I'm going to have to get this element and then pass that DOM element to a library that replaces the DOM element with a wallpaper, an animated wallpaper in this case, which we'll do in a second. So I got children here, that worked, and now our hello world works. Cool. So now we have our black background and our hello world app loaded within it right here. So that's actually a good start. There's our desktop app. There's our desktop component right there. And it looks pretty sensible. We got a styled desktop and the styled desktop. Oh, this should be called styled desktop. Oh man, that's sloppy of me. What am I doing here, right? Styled desktop. Yeah, update the imports. So it said it updated the import. It did indeed. Yeah, that's more correct. Yeah, we don't want to, that was confusing the other way. So that's pretty clean there. Let's do a little prettier run, and then I think I think this is good the way it is, actually. I don't see any, oh, it changed something. Oh, cool, it even fit all this on one line. So our desktop as it is right now is so simple that it fits on one line, but it's gonna get a slightly more complex when we, once we get that wallpaper in the action. So we got our main. I think there was something else I was gonna talk about with CSS. I won't for now. I might have talked about it last episode, but it was, let's see our stream notes to see how I talked about it last episode, because there's a way to make that main element very much the base for a lot of things. Yeah, flow route. I don't know if you guys had heard of this, people that are watching the stream now. Last stream I talked about it. So the display field for the main element, I was thinking what would be cool is that we could set it as flow root. The element generates a block element box that establishes a new block formatting context. I feel like if we do that, it might be less difficult for z-index logic, because we're already contained within the body, within a div called ID that has ID underscore next, which is a very generic next thing. And then our stuff is in there. But that's where I care to start the context. That's where the z-index should start. So I'm going to try. I mean, I haven't started messing with z-index yet, so I don't know if I want to do this yet until I start dealing with z-index. I think I'm going to wait. But that's another consideration to think about. This is where it would go in, is in the desktop. And just kind of resetting our context. We got a message here from someone that I'll repeat here. Kerman Berdyev. Hello there. He said, cool, you're coding too. Indeed I am. I got some error now in VS Code. Still can't figure out what is the problem. Ugh. Tell me about it, right? Well, we'll debug that in another day. If you want to send me a message or get on on our Discord channel, which is it will be in the notes, the description. We can chat on there too if you want to work through any issues, or just in general. I've got this Discord channel for you guys. Then we can hang out there as well. So yeah, I appreciate the error, Karen, but maybe we'll look at it in another. I mean, post it. It could be something cool, but I just know about the rabbit holes of trying to solve errors, and I'm bad for it. Once I see the error, I'm going to be like, oh, don't worry about that. And then I'm going to be like, well, wait a minute. And then one thing leads to another, and then it's a 4-hour video. So let's not do flow root for now. We got our desktop component. We got it styled. It's worded correctly now. So yeah, very simple there. We got our process provider, and then within that, our desktop, and then the process loader. And then the desktop is extremely simple right now. And it also has access to the processes, right? But it doesn't need them. I guess that's a good point. This could be out there. Does it matter? I guess by putting desktop right there, I allow it access to the process provider, which you could almost call a security risk in an operating system. So there could be the argument to like put it out here instead. So then it's not part of the process context. That actually probably makes more sense, honestly. Because if it was part of the process context, well, but it's not a consumer of the context, so it probably wouldn't have been re-rendering or anything. But in this scenario, I actually think this might be better. Because yeah, I prefer that. Because now the desktop doesn't know anything about the processes, doesn't need to. It's just children for it, just dump it in there. So I think that probably makes more sense. Yeah, Kiram said thank you. Yeah, so no, for sure, man. In Discord, in the description for this YouTube channel, I have a Discord channel, and we can talk there for hours, and we'll figure out the problem. So, but for now, yeah, let's just get this desktop component committed here. So created desktop component, and if you guys have any tweaks for me, feel free to mention them. But yeah, so I've decided to put that outside there. Have some sip of my water here. So now it's time to actually do something that will make our app actually look kind of cool, which is to have a wallpaper. And it's to start to talk about what I leveraged last time, which was Vanta.js. And I'm hoping with my new and improved computer that it's not gonna kill anything by showing you guys all this. I don't know how it's gonna go from an encoding point of view, but this is Vanta.js. And as you see, it's got a lot of cool different wallpapers. The one I used is called Waves. That's the one I'm hoping to use this time as well, I think. Clouds is kind of cool, but it really doesn't look good on mobile. It looks great there. It looks terrible on mobile. Whereas Waves looked kind of good on all of them. And I don't know if I mentioned this before, but if you guys know, on Steam, there's an app called Wallpaper Engine, which is a Windows app for doing different wallpapers within Windows. And they actually use this exact style. I don't know if they use Vanta or if Vanta copied them or if they're both copied from someone else. But what I like about that is that it's cool because this wallpaper literally could be on somebody's Windows operating system. So I imagine if one of those people using Wallpaper Engine actually checked my app out, it would just blow their mind. It's like, how did he copy my desktop thing? That would be cool too. If I could take the wallpaper of the person visiting my site and put it on my desktop, that's meta. There is some parts to that you can do. Not the wallpaper, but there are properties now in CSS where you can know if the operating system is set to like a dark mode or a light mode. And I am going to play with that in the future. I might even play with it for the wallpaper. It could be cool where if the user wants a dark mode, I'll give them a darker tint of wallpaper versus a light mode. So I definitely want to get into that. And that's something we're gonna play with. I want to make another note about that one because that's such a cool idea. You know, let's make that as another task. Another to do is to add dark/light CSS detect to wallpaper colors and to everything. You know, eventually that'll be on the Windows too, and everything. So if you have dark mode typically, and you go to my site, the Windows will be dark mode, and if you don't have dark mode, they won't be. So here's Vanta.js, right? And these guys are great because if you go to their GitHub, and this is their GitHub. And if you go to the part that I went to in their tutorial, they literally have exactly what I need. Usage with React hooks. Great. So it's perfect. It's a React hook. It's a custom React hook because they got a use effect going on here. Hi, Comanda. We got another person here. Happy to have more people on. I can't pronounce the Chinese part of your name, so I'll just call you Comanda. Happy to have more people. So here we go, usage with React hooks. This is perfect. So we're going to use a React hook. So on that note, let's make the hook first. And let's make some of the logic of how this is going to work. So we got our desktop. And if we go to hooks, I'm going to name the hook something very simple enough called use wallpaper. Now you could call it use Vanta, I guess, but no one knows what that is. And this terminology can allow us to leverage different libraries perhaps. And one day that would be cool. I mean, there's a million of them out there. I showed on a different stream all the different wallpaper things there are. There's so many of them out there. So let's copy that hook example verbatim and then just start chunking her out. There we go. So how much of this do we need? We don't need that for sure. We need use states, do we? Vanta effect. This looks weird. Oh, okay, I see why they're doing that, because they want to do a destroy possibly on it. Okay, I'm going to do it a little bit their way, but then I'm also going to look at what I wrote, minus all the rainbow color changing stuff. We'll do that in another one. So what's it say here? Make sure window.3 is defined, including 3.min.js in the document. head using a script tag. Right. I think we can do a lot easier than that. I think we can do something like that. Let's just look at our code now, actually. Let's look at the old code and remember, what the heck did I do to make this work? Because it's actually not so hard. Hooks, use wallpaper. So yes, I did do that. I did like import everything as 3 from 3. And that will allow, and actually I think you don't pass it as window, but I think you can do this and then also pass it in to the render piece, which I don't think they've documented here specifically, but I believe somewhere else they have that documented within the Vanta thing. And you could do this with your own wallpaper or your own effect, whatever you decide to do. Did I do that with the code? Did I have this kind of thing? Yes, I do. No, I actually directly point to the lib that I care about. Oh yeah, that's what this is here. So how did I do this here? Libs. Okay, cool. We need the specific file for the specific wallpaper we care about. In this case, waves. So let's get that file first. Actually, the file will be in the repo. Let's just clone the repo. So npm I, and this is a dependency, not a dev dependency. And is it called Vanta.js? I don't know if it's just called Vanta.js. What is their recommendation for installing here? Do they recommend installing? Do they have a package? Maybe they don't even have a package. Well, if that's the case, that makes sense. Yeah, I don't need their package. I just need that lib. So it's right here, dist waves. Okay. So I'll just take this as is. And I have to type this manually. No, I'm just kidding. So I saved that somewhere. Where did I save that? On my desktop. I'm going to drag that into where I care to have it. So if we go to the folder structure here, I want to have it, it's got to be somewhere that the user can access, I guess, or does it? I don't think it has to be, honestly. Why is it like that now? Let's put it in public for now, but I don't think it has to stay there. That's my feeling on it. So we got, because I think if you're importing it, you're already going to have it, it's going to get bundled in. So why would I put it somewhere public? Let's not do that. Let's just try to make a folder called libs and just see if we can have it there instead of somewhere public. Libs, and within libs, I'll just drag that file that I told you guys about, vanta.waves.min.js. And Prettier is going to try to have a field day with this. So let's go into our ignore files right now. Prettier ignore, and let's add libs. Not to our git ignore. Yeah, that's our Prettier ignore, and that's probably the only one that matters. Maybe our ESLint too probably matters. Let's see. I wonder if it's going to complain about that. Because we don't have an ESLint ignore file. Oh yeah, it hates that. Do I have a command? What is my ESLint command again? It's just to lint everything, right? Okay, let's just make an ESLint ignore file, because once we start getting with libs, it just gets deep. Do we have, is it a file? Or is it supposed to be within the thing that you do ignoring? Ignore patterns. ESLint ignore, here we go. So I don't think I had that file. I don't know, I might have already. No, I did not. I guess I just didn't care. So there we go, now we need an ESLint ignore file. And what do we have in this ignore file? I mean, hell, let's ignore the exact same stuff. It honestly should have been ignored. Probably make ESLint a little bit faster, maybe. So now when we run it, it shouldn't complain. There we go, good. So yeah, we don't want to lint those lib files. They are what they are, and they're already min files. I don't need to, it doesn't have to be the min file, I guess, because it's going to package it, but let's not worry about that. So now we can do libs, waves, and there we go. It stopped complaining about that. And we need to import 3JS. That's another thing. That's a dependency we need. That's a big one, but it's part of it. So we'll get that in there. And then that'll be part of it. Yeah, there we go. That's done. So it shouldn't complain. There we go. Stop complaining about that. Now the next little piece of this puzzle is where I'm supposed to use 3, because I took that from the old code. Let's just see where I'm using it here, because I think you can just pass it in. Yeah, here we go. It's within the rendering. I think that they mentioned that even. And then I've got my Vanta.js settings that I've done here. Okay. So let's see how they do it here. Let's go back to the code. So basically all you got to do is just add it here. That's pretty straightforward, right? And as far as the render element goes, yeah, I've done it in a confusing way, I think, and I don't like the way I've done it. So I think parts of it are probably going to change. Why did I not need use state? That's interesting. Oh, okay. I don't think you even need the use state. Let's just really refactor what they've done here because it's not making a lot of sense. So for use wallpaper, what do we want to pass to the wallpaper? We want to pass this, the reference to the element, as a ref. Do we want to pass the current part? I don't think so. Just the ref is fine, mutable ref object. So basically what we need to do here, if we're going to use wallpaper on the desktop, is it's going to need to be a function and a hook that's actually used. So we don't need to declare it as anything. All we really need to do is pass it this DOM element. Now with React, to get DOM elements, you need to use something called useRef. I mean, you don't need to, there's other ways to do it, but this is the ideal way, I would say. And let's just call it desktop ref useRef. And I don't think you have to put anything in there. One thing I think you do have to do, or you don't have to, but with TypeScript it helps, is to specify the type, I think. HTML main, I don't have a main element, HTML element. There we go, and I have to import useRef. And then I have to separate the types from the not types. There we go. And this needs to be a return now of the JSX. And then the way that you point that ref to that object is via a very simple technique like that. And what's it complaining about? Maybe I can't use ref that way because that's already a styled component. I've never tried to reference a styled component. The expected type comes from ref. Oh, is it complaining about the types maybe? Let's put the type to an any for a second and see if that shuts it up. Okay, it does. Did I need to do this even? Then it complains again. There's some trick to this. Let's see what I did in the code before, because TypeScript and refs gets a little tricky. Let's see where I used it. It should be in components, system, desktop, desktop. Oh, right. You just have to pass null to say that initially it's null. I think that was what I was missing. Yeah, there we go. That's the last little piece of the trick. So it's tricky, but that's how you do it. So there we go. So now we have this desktop ref that's referring to this. So now what we can do is go use wallpaper, and we can just pass that desktop reference like so. And we haven't exported this yet, but one step at a time. Oh, I'm sorry guys, I didn't switch to the code. Oh, so sloppy of me. When did I do that? ReactJS, enjoy. Yeah, cool. I'm happy you're liking React, said Commanda. So yeah, just in the code, by the way, I had put the ref here, I put this to null, and then the complaint went away. So now I can start using the desktop ref. I'm going to pass it into use wallpaper, my use wallpaper hook, to basically tell I like the way that this sounds too, because it's like, use the wallpaper here, you know, use the wallpaper on this element. I like the look of it. So now back to the element itself. Let's also do the return. Sorry, the export default. Use wallpaper, like so. Const use wallpaper. Props, no, not props. It's going to take the reference element, which we're going to call the just call it the ref element, I guess. You don't need to know it's a desktop, right? The wallpaper doesn't need to know it's a desktop. So we'll just call it the ref element.current. And we need to specify a type. We've decided that useRef returns what? What is this at this point? It's a ref object. So let's just call it the exact same thing. It's a ref object with HTML element inside. And we're just passing that straight to it. Cool. Looks good so far. So let's say we don't necessarily, well, we don't need, at least the myref part we don't need. And this is supposed to be a type. Why is it not understanding that? I guess because I have other errors with the code still. Let's just comment this out and see if it then complains about other stuff. Oh yeah, it complains about tons of stuff. So one step at a time here. I don't see the purpose of this. Let's just go right into the running of this piece here. Let's again look at the code, because it's a little confusing how it was done, but at the same time, once you see the final product, it's actually not confusing at all. So the piece that I did here where I used waves is right here. Right, so I called it render element. No, yeah, I preferred calling it ref then because, oh, I see. Here I'm doing just destructing assignment to take out current and call it render element. That's kind of nice. Actually, that's not so bad. I like this React dot too here instead of importing it, or do I? No, I like explicitly importing the type, so that's fine. Or maybe that's what it was complaining about before. Maybe that's why it didn't do it. Okay, one thing at a time. Sorry, guys. I'm jumping around too much. So the rainbow effect stuff we don't care about. So you set on destroy and you return it. And that gets used here for destroy because it's a piece of that. Okay, that's simple enough. So this is called waves now. Waves. And if we just take this piece out and we ignore all of this gibberish. So we need to be able to set on the use effect a return function that can destroy. So I think all we need to do then is set this up here in the context. Const, call it the Vanta effect is a nice name for it, I guess, for now. It's very specific to Vanta. So we've already set it here at the initialization point. I don't know if, this needs to happen in use effect. Absolutely. So right now, all that use wallpaper does is do an effect. It gets this here, rendered to the right element that we care about. And then when it returns it, we have the opportunity to destroy it. Like that, yeah. So that makes sense. So yeah, we don't need use state either. And does it even need to return anything? Not really. It doesn't even need to return anything. It's complaining there. Yeah, we'll get into that at a later date because it's saying ref. Okay, sure. If ref element changes, you can update. That's reasonable. Yeah. And would Vanta effect change? Yeah, this whole effect would change. That's okay. And here it's saying nothing's returned. Yeah, that's true. Nothing does need to be returned. And then once it needs to sort this. Okay, cool. It popped that out. That's what I wanted earlier. Great. So that pretty much cleaned that up. Now let's restart the app because it's complaining again. And let's see what that gets us. Restarting the app. Use wallpaper is not defined. Okay, I've made a mistake. I probably didn't import something. I'm skipping ahead here. Yes, here I did not import that. See, look, import default, use wallpaper. See, it knew that time from that default export. Sometimes it knows. I don't understand how. Sometimes it knows, sometimes it doesn't. So what do we got? Oh, well, that didn't really work the way we expected, did it? What happened there? Why didn't that work? Let's try to figure out why. Let's look at the console and see. Okay, I got a console error. You guys can't see it, but it says nGeometry is not a constructor. That's a cool error. So what have we done? What have I broken here? What have I done? So the code actually looks pretty correct. Let's go back to look at the example and let's just take the example actually temporarily. Oh, do I have no settings? I don't think I need settings, but maybe you do. The example didn't have any settings, so let's dump this one in here, and that's also TypeScript React. And I just want to cut out all this color stuff because you guys don't need to know about this for now. This is later when we get into coloring stuff. Yeah, none of that matters. We'll keep these settings for now, not the color. All the rainbow stuff's gone. Okay, so that looks very similar to how the other one looks. Let's cut this piece out first and see if that piece looks right. Yeah, I mean, that piece mostly looks like how I expected. I'm doing render wallpaper effect here. Maybe that makes sense to have that be that. Let's just make sure render wallpaper effect is doing this. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same. Here it's saying only do destroy if Vanta effect is defined, but I think it would be. I'm trying to think of a scenario where that wouldn't be defined. I guess it could happen. Let's just do that. It's safer. Well, let's only do that if we get an error. I don't want to prematurely add a bunch of crap. So get rid of that. Get rid of that. All that's left really here is the render piece then. We're importing 3 correctly? Yeah. We had the use effect, we got waves. It's possible this lib needs to be done a different way, but let's just see. Maybe that's not the case. So I have the settings that I'm passing here. The rainbow effect we don't care about. And the on destroy effect we wouldn't care about either. So what did I do wrong here? And did I try killing the dev environment and then starting it over again? And did I get an error? I thought I saw a little error there actually. No errors anywhere. But except in the console. Yeah, it says end geometry is not a constructor. That's an interesting one. I hadn't thought of that. Let's try making it public, the file. Let's put it in public libs. I don't know why that would make any difference, but let's just try it. New folder, libs. This puts it in a different location, but I hadn't thought as to why it would need to be in a different location. Actually, let's delete this libs folder and just drag the whole libs folder into public here. There we go. We updated that. And then we're gonna have to kill this and run that again and see if that makes any difference now that it's on a public location. No, that didn't. Same error. And geometry is not a constructor. Geez, that's weird. Well, at least this is gonna kill and eat into our taskbar time, so we'll have to do the taskbar in a different video, I think. As far as what the problem is, though, that's a real mystery. Let's add the settings in then, because we had all these settings here. Let's dump these in. I copied them from there, and let's just put them right here. Not the color. For color, let's just use red, or let's use whatever. What's red? What color's red? I think you can just do red like that. Failed to execute, remove children. Oh, okay. So it complained at my destroy, probably because it never loaded properly, but let's just see if doing that helps at all. Well, it made it not crash when I... Yeah, if I refresh after changing the code, it complains, but if I double check for this first, then it's okay. That makes me wonder if Vanta effect got defined. If we throw a console log here, and we do a refresh... Oh, now we got 2 errors. Now you got 2 problems. Yeah, so it was not undefined, and it actually is exactly how you'd expect it to be. It's just not working. This geometry stuff is annoying. It's not normal. So, well, this might have to be tabled, the wallpaper, until another day, because it's not cooperating. That's weird. I don't know why. I wonder if it's this Waves version I have. I wonder if they've updated it. Why don't we take a peek at the repo and just see the last time they changed this? Oh. That is after that I had used it. So let's use the version from my code and see if that's any better. Public, libs. So here's my wave, and that is not from October of this year. Oh, I prettierified this already. Whatever, that doesn't matter. Let's take that into the code and see if it helps at all. So let's go to our lib, and oh. My computer chugged on that one a little bit, even I felt it there. They tried to bracket colorize all that crap. Okay, so we've updated that. It's still complaining about the way it's deleting things. So we'll fix that later, but let's just see if our lib is better. Nope. I got the same error. Type error. And geometry is not a constructor. What if I dig into it? What kind of error does it say? Yeah, it's such a useless error. Really no help at all. It's complaining about Vanta for some reason. But that's no help to us. So darn it, guys. I don't know if we're going to have a wallpaper, because it's not cooperating. Well, the code's clear. The code makes sense. But if I can't get it to work, I'm probably going to just commit this as... I'm going to stash this, and I'm going to have to come back to you guys when I figure out why my geometry is broken. I don't know why it is, though. Let's try to load this on the desktop browser so I can show you guys the error, too. So if we... Yeah, you can see here, it's saying end geometry is not a constructor. But none of this has anything to do with me that I can see. Yeah. I feel like this is probably something I dealt with before, but like I told you guys, I didn't work this one up in advance, so we're gonna have to be happy with what we got here, and I'm gonna stash this stuff. How do you stash? Stash all changes. I'm actually not a huge fan of stashing. Let's just nuke this. It's not like we made any real progress anyways, unfortunately. I wonder how we can really quick test it. Why not? This is a reference. Let's make sure we're doing the reference right. Let's go back into the browser and just look at my original code one more time. And see, when we're using the desktop component, if we go in here to desktop, it's the same idea. Desktop ref, yeah. I wonder if it has to do with it being a styled component, just to keep shooting random guesses into the air. Let's try that. So close this, move that, go into the desktop here, and let's just make this a main element. I can't imagine it having any difference at all. Yeah. There's something broken with the way that I destroy, but that might be because it's creating them wrong. It's interesting because this used to work, I feel like, but oh wow, now I've even, and I don't have my styled background, but the error is the same. It's still complaining about geometry. I wonder if, geometry. I wonder if it has something to do with the widths and the height. Well, now I don't even have it styled anymore. I wonder if I could do inline styling here. Height 100 VH, width 100 VH. Does that work? Parsing error, cannot, oh, okay, I need 2 of these. Yeah. The thing is really broken for destroy events, so every time I save it, it kind of gives me an error. That's something I need to fix. Okay, that didn't help. Whatever geometry it's referring to is not a geometry that I know about, so. Let's just undo all that code and forget about it then for now, and let's just see what we have. We're almost at the 3-hour mark anyways, so I think this is the tail end of it. Let's end the podcast with me discarding all the changes I just did to the wallpaper, not to everything. So let's update our show notes here with the failure. Basically, this entire thing is for next stream now. I mean, we played around with it. We're close. Oh, no, not the desktop part. I got the desktop. So now we'll just say the wallpaper, and we'll just take our Vanta links as well again here. And I'll solve that, guys. Or if you guys are interested, feel free, check out the code and try to figure out what I did and what I didn't do. We're going to move the taskbar to the next stream as well. And hopefully we can do the file system as well, because there's actually not too much to it. Oh, I want to put in the notes that we did do the desktop. Actually, what did I erase there? Because I had some good desktop notes there. Yeah, this part's still good. This part's good. I basically just want to remove that and take the taskbar up to here, let's say. Cool. So then next stream, next week, we'll get that wallpaper working. We got close, guys. We got close. But something's not loading. Something's not right. It'll be fun to know what it is next week, you know? The taskbar we'll get to. I wanted to mock it out and talk more about the semantic elements. Like, the taskbar is like a type of nav. And then on the nav, there's a button, which is the start button. And then there's an ordered list, which is the taskbar entries. And then there's a time element. I don't know if you guys knew about that, but there's an HTML semantic element for time. And it requires its own little attributes to be valid and stuff. And we're going to use a figure and fig caption within the taskbar entries, I think. And I've also mentioned to talk about the list style because we want to remove that. I've talked about browser FS already. Styled components, the window. Yeah, we're probably not going to get to that next stream. I'm just going to erase that. Soon we're going to be styling components. I mean, right now we have styled components, but we haven't really styled the components in that they don't look like the stuff we want them to yet. So that's to be done. Translations. We're not going to do that next episode. Same with E2 end-to-end testing and code quality. I'm going to move those to being about discussions, and we literally had those discussions already. Except for one, which I will discuss with you guys momentarily here after I move it back into there. So that's, yeah. So we discussed translations a little bit. And remember I said that we might need to use something else. There's tons of packages. There's Next, I18N Next. There's also this format.js is like probably one of the most popular ones, which is React INTL-INTL. So there's a couple for translations. We discussed it. We'll get into it more in another episode. Same with end-to-end testing. Not going to mess with that right now. Once we have a better UI, we can start talking about end-to-end testing. And then code quality checking is another one. And there's something called, well, we're already doing tons of code quality checking, but another cool one is Sonar Cube, which it has some patterns and some recognition, and it does some other things and looks for code smells, as they call it, like little hints of bad code, essentially. But yeah, we're getting to the end of the stream, so you're back to seeing me. Next stream, we're gonna figure that wallpaper out. We're gonna look at some more refactors for anything I've messed up this episode. We're gonna mock up that taskbar, and we're gonna do the file system. And in between, there'll be more housekeeping, more refactoring, you know, all the typical stuff as we move this project along 3 hours per week for however long it takes to get to where we need to be, right? So now we have a slightly different hello world. We have a wallpaper now. We have startup processes. I'm going to push this last commit too. And I'm just going to quickly look at what we did here so I can list it to you guys, because we did so much, right? We did so much. It's like, yeah, we did the updates. We added the build step to the CI, so we also do type checking there. We organized the alphabetical stuff, so that's kind of all fixed. We added quite a few to-dos to the project as well, so we got some notes there. The render processes extraction. So many little nice refactors, I think, that clean things up a bit. And then that desktop component was a win. It was pretty much the only component we got to today, and we didn't get to the wallpaper part. But it was a cool starter idea that we got this wrapped desktop now. The processes are in there. It's part of main. It looked good on IE 11. So I think we made a lot of progress today in the refactoring side of things and just constantly cleaning this code up. And I feel like at some point there's going to be almost no refactors left, and we're just going to talk about building every time. But as long as I can keep going back and finding things to change, I'm going to keep doing that. So, and I'm going to take you guys along for the ride. So thank you guys for watching again. Another 3 hours. We're at 3 hours pretty much right now, half a minute from that. The stream went good. The new computer worked good. So I don't think there was any skipping or anything like that. Thanks for all the chat. There was a lot of activity in the chat this time, which was really cool as far as just people saying hi. I really appreciate that. Yeah, like I said, give the video a like, subscribe to me if you want to see more stuff like this, or just I have other videos too that aren't quite like this. They're not about streams, but just general self-taught developer stuff, that kind of thing. If that's down your niche, then please subscribe. And thanks, Daniel. He said good stream again, much appreciated. Yeah, I'm going to prepare a little bit more for the next one, so I'll know what's going on with the wallpaper. We'll have a nice little taskbar, and we're building it, you know? I mean, we got a taskbar, we get a wallpaper, the Hello World app could pop up, you know? It's coming together. So just stay with me, guys. Stay with me. It's only been 5 episodes times 3 hours. You've only been watching me for 15 hours, guys. It's been nothing. So, but it's super appreciated. Thanks for another episode. Like, subscribe, comment. I'm on Discord, all that stuff. It's all appreciated. Let's build a community here. Let's work on the code together. Let's have fun. Let's learn stuff, right? That's it, guys. Thank you very much. See you in the next one.